Chapter 11-12. Dine and dash? But no matter what, she was back at the hospital. She couldn't go back to the train station right now. She needed to pay the money first. Xiaoka queued up and paid the surgery fee, but found a note in the handkerchief. There was an address and a phone number on it. Xiaoka's eyes lit up. Xiaoka's eyes lit up. Xiaoka's eyes lit up. So he'd given her the address already. Xiaoka relaxed, not as worried as before. Now that she had enough money, she'd go to this address and pay him back. Xiaoka carefully put away the piece of paper with the address and went to find Xiao Ken with the receipt. Gooden was waiting for Xiaoka at the train station. He was worried that she wouldn't be able to find him after he left. The money wasn't a big deal, but the important thing was the address with Lin Yi-Boss address. And so, Gooden didn't dare leave. He just sat on the bench. Time flew, and the sky turned dark, and the sky turned dark again. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye, and Xiaoka still wasn't back. Only now did Gooden realize that he'd been tricked. This big liar girl, she pisses me off. Gooden said angrily as he looked at the train station. It had been so long, and Xiaoka still hadn't reappeared. No matter how honest he was, he knew that he'd been tricked. Gooden was troubled. Tricking money was one thing, but why didn't she give him back Lin Yi-Boss address? You'd be wasting my time if you just left like that. Lin Yi-Boss was still waiting for me to use my potions. Man. Gooden stood up and patted his butt, leaving helplessly. He needed to find a place to eat. He hadn't eaten for 2 days, and he was starving. Luckily, Gooden's body was rather sturdy. If it were someone else, they'd be starving to death already. He didn't get far before smelling the smell of fried chicken. He raised his head and saw the big sign next to him, with the words, "Burger Fried Chicken," written on it. Hamburgers were Western fast food, and he'd only seen it on TV before. He'd never tried it before, and Star West Village didn't have this type of food. He felt that it was fresh, and plus, he hadn't eaten for 2 days. Gooden walked quickly into the burger and chicken shop. There was only one waitress inside, and no one else was in the shop. It was already late, and it wasn't time to eat. It was normal to be empty. "Shopkeeper, what good food do you have?" Gooden was about to faint from hunger. He looked at the chicken in the fridge and started drooling. "I want this, and this, and this. And a hamburger." "All right, please wait a moment." Yuan nodded, her eyes lifeless as she took out all the food Gooden wanted. Once upon a time, she felt that her job was boring. But now, Yuan was reluctant to leave. She estimated that she would not be able to do this job for more than 2 days. Once she became Fighter Li's woman, she would not be able to show her face in public anymore. Therefore, Yuan cherished this rare working time. She probably wouldn't have such an opportunity in the future. "Sir, 56 yuan in total." Yuan passed the tray to Gooden. "Okay." Gooden was secretly surprised. The food in this city was really expensive. 1 meal was enough to feed his family for a few days. Gooden thought as he took out money from his clothes, but when he touched his empty pockets, he suddenly remembered that his money was tricked by that liar girl. Gooden's face turned a little awkward. He didn't have any money, coming here to eat? Wouldn't that be a free meal? What's wrong? Yuan saw the change in Gooden's face as well. I don't have money anymore." Gooden stuttered, embarrassed. "My money was scammed, cheated?" Yuan paused and looked at Gooden suspiciously, but judging from his clothes, he didn't seem like the type to cheat people out of eating and dashing. Fast food restaurants paid first, too, and dashing wasn't an option. At the train station, there was a girl who said she had a child with appendicitis, and she asked me to borrow money, so I gave her the 1,900 or so I had, and she said she'd pay me back, but I waited on the bench for 2 days, and she didn't come back. Gooden couldn't help but get a little angry. "Man, I didn't eat for 2 days just to wait for her, and she just left." "Ah?" Yuan paused after hearing Gooden's story. This guy was a little too honest, wasn't he? He borrowed money from a stranger at the train station? Did he just believe whatever they said? Appendicitis? He was clearly a liar. But Yuan could tell from Gooden's clothes that he'd just come from the mountains. These people were all honest people, and it was normal for him to be scammed. Hearing that Gooden hadn't eaten for 2 days, Yuan felt sorry for him. Then this is my treat. Hurry up and eat, don't starve. They were about to go to Fighter Li's place, and Yuan knew that money was useless. Fighter Li didn't lack money, so she didn't mind doing something nice. Gooden was like his father, Yuren, they were both scammed, and Yuan felt that she should help him out. I can't accept that, Gooden scratched his scalp. He didn't expect Yuan to be treating him for free. The girl in front of him wasn't as pretty as that scammer, but in his eyes, she was still a beauty amongst beauties. She was much prettier than those village girls from West Star Village. Plus, Yu Xiaoka's image in Gooden's mind was extremely bad, while this Yuan in front of him was extremely kind. They were both beauties who lived in the same city, so why was there such a huge difference between them? It's nothing, you're very kind, you just got scammed. Hurry up and eat, it'll get cold, Yuan said. Then I won't hold back. When I find that scammer girl and get the money, I'll pay you back. Gooden looked at the fried chicken and hamburger, his saliva almost dripping out. With that, Gooden happily took the tray and found a place to eat. Chapter 11-13. Why were you crying? Yuan felt like crying all of a sudden. If it weren't for Fighter Li and Scorpion, she would have died a long time ago. But now, she couldn't die even if she wanted to. Even her life wasn't her own anymore. At that thought, Yuan couldn't help but start sobbing. Gooden was having a great time eating when he heard a woman crying. He jumped up and looked up to see Yuan crying. Shop girl, what's wrong? Gooden quickly walked over. Yuan didn't say anything, only crying. Gooden's question touched her heart, and she cried even harder. Hey! Girl, why don't you say something? What's wrong? Why are you crying all of a sudden? Gooden panicked when he saw that Yuan wasn't talking. Are you worried that I didn't pay for my meal? Don't worry, I'll pay you back for sure. Stop crying, you're making me uncomfortable. Woo. Yuan started crying even harder at Gooden's nonsense. Yuren was worried about his daughter, and thinking that he wouldn't have many chances to see her again, he decided to lock up his shop early and go to the burger shop. Yuren heard his daughter crying as soon as he stepped into the burger shop. He panicked and ran over. Yuan, what's wrong? Why are you crying? Did something happen? Dad. When Yuan saw her father, she threw herself into his arms and cried even harder. Yuan, don't cry, what's wrong? Yuren asked carefully as he hugged his daughter. Man, I just didn't bring money for my meal. You said you're treating me, why are you crying again? If you regret it, I won't eat anymore. Gooden really didn't know what to do. Yuren paused. So this guy was here to eat and dash? But it didn't sound like it. It seemed like his daughter was treating him. You. Go eat your food, it has nothing to do with you. Yuan quickly explained, afraid that her father would blame Gooden. Hey, it has nothing to do with me. Then why are you suddenly crying? She was fine just now, why'd she start crying all of a sudden? Gooden sighed, not understanding what was going on. Kid, since it's none of your business, go eat. Yuren could guess why his daughter was crying, and he knew that it had nothing to do with Gooden. He waved his hand and told him to go eat. I ate your food, but I didn't eat it for free. Did you run into some trouble? Tell me, I'll see if I can help you. Gooden looked at Yuan and guessed that she was in trouble. You can't help me. No one can help me. Yuan seemed to be talking to Gooden, but also to herself. Don't ask, why can't I help? Gooden felt a surge of pride in his heart as he looked at Yuan crying. Gooden was the type of person who would repay the kindness of others with a single drop of water. Yuan Yuan had treated him to a meal, and now that Yuan Yuan was clearly in trouble, he couldn't just stand by and watch. I got kidnapped to be a concubine, can you help me? Yuan Yuan didn't know what to do anymore, so she just said it out loud. This wasn't something to be proud of. She didn't want to say it, but Gooden kept asking, so she had no choice. Concubine? Gooden blinked. You got kidnapped to be a concubine? Who wants to kidnap you? Why would they want to kidnap you? Don't ask so many questions, it has nothing to do with you. Just leave after eating. Yuan Yuan saw that Gooden was an honest person, and she didn't want him to get involved in this. Tell me, what's going on? I don't believe that someone would kidnap you just because I'm sitting here. Gooden's temper flared up as he glared at her. Gooden had a good impression of Yuan Yuan, and he felt that she was a kind girl, treating him to a meal. She was much better than that scammer girl. So now that Yuan Yuan was in trouble, Gooden was a warm-hearted person. How could he just ignore it? It's fine, I'll tell you if you want to hear it. Yuan Yuan saw that Gooden was determined to get to the bottom of it, so she didn't insist. She'd been holding it in for the past 2 days, and having an outsider to talk to would make her feel better. In fact, Yuan Yuan didn't think that Gooden could do anything. He'd just entered the city, so how would he know how cruel the world was? And so Yuan Yuan told him about how Scorpion tricked her father into going to the arena, how he borrowed money, and how he forced her to be Fighter Li's concubine. Gooden was furious after hearing what happened to Yuan Yuan, glaring at Yu Ren. Who the hell is that lil Scorpion and Fighter Li? One's a street thug, one's a street fighter, and I thought they were powerful people, but they're just 2 pieces of trash, and you want your daughter to pay off the debt? What kind of father are you? Are you a man or not? So what if I am? That Scorpion is from the underworld, and that Fighter Li is very powerful as well, breaking a steel door with 1 punch. What do you expect me to do? 1 word from him and my family will be destroyed. Yu Ren smiled bitterly. So you just accept your fate? You want your daughter to be his concubine? Gooden was pissed. What kind of father was this? What else can I do? Yu Ren shook his head helplessly. Kid, you don't understand. You're too honest, you don't know how powerful those people are. How powerful? How powerful can a street ruffian and a martial artist who performs martial arts be? Gooden said in disdain, these people only bully the weak and fear the strong. If I were you, I'd fight them to the death. Fight? I'm no match for them. Hurry up and beat them to death. Yu Ren felt that Gooden was getting more and more unreasonable. He shook his head. Why are you talking about my dad like that? You just entered the city, how would you know how powerful they are? It's easy for you to say, but why don't you fight them to the death? Yuan Yuan was getting pissed. Her father wasn't a good person, but being scolded by an outsider like Gooden made her feel uncomfortable. Gooden had a point, but he didn't know how complicated things were, and how powerful those people were. Chapter 11-14. Gooden punches Fighter Li, top, here. Yuan Yuan got even angrier after hearing Gooden's words. You killed him with 1 punch? Aren't you afraid of losing your tongue? Yuan Yuan had a good impression of Gooden before. He was a simple and honest guy, and although he got tricked, at least he was a warm-hearted person. But even if you were warm-hearted, you shouldn't butt in when you couldn't do anything about it. Saying random things was just causing trouble. And so, in a fit of anger, she gave Fighter Li's name card to Gooden. On it was the address of the arena. Fighter Li had left this sign yesterday, and he came here because he was afraid that Yuan Yuan would run away. He wanted to see what she was doing, reminding her not to forget the promise. Gooden took the name card and didn't say anything. He stuffed the chicken drumstick into his mouth and left the burger shop. Hey, where are you going? Yuan Yuan jumped. Looking at Gooden, it seemed like he really was going to fight Fighter Li to the death. She panicked a little. She was just saying it out of anger, but she didn't think that Gooden would actually do something like that. If it were someone else, Yuan Yuan wouldn't think much about it. After all, a lot of people were just pretending to run away. Who knew what they were going to do? But Gooden was different. She could tell from the fact that he was kind enough to pay the medical fees that he was a warm-hearted person. Yuan was really worried that he'd go fight Fighter Lee to the death. Yuan felt that she was already unlucky enough. If she dragged Gooden into this for no reason, then her conscience would be hurt. This wasn't something she wanted to see. So Yuan subconsciously ran out the door, wanting to call out to Gooden, but he was nowhere to be seen. Man, why is this guy so warm-hearted? Yuan stomped her foot, panicking. But there was nothing she could do. Yuan, let's hurry up and go over to take a look. Although this young man is a little silly, he is a warm-hearted person. Don't put him in danger because of this. Yuan was a coward, but he was a reasonable person. He didn't want anything to happen to Gooden because of his family. This matter had nothing to do with him, so why should he cause trouble for him? Yuan was also anxious. After listening to her father's words, she didn't care about the business of the burger shop anymore. She hurriedly locked up the shop, stopped a taxi with her father, and rushed to the underground boxing field. But Yuan was a beat too slow when she locked the shop, and how could a taxi be faster than Gooden? There was a speed limit for cars in the city, but there wasn't a speed limit for people. Gooden could even catch up to wild beasts on the mountain, so he was destined to reach the arena first. The address on the card was very detailed, and Gooden found a random person and asked for the direction of the address before flying to the arena. The underground boxing arena was transformed from an abandoned factory, but at the moment, it was brightly lit. At the entrance of the abandoned factory, there were two burly men guarding. They were holding walkie-talkies in their hands. Obviously, they were in charge of guarding. Gooden walked over, but was stopped by two people. Who are you? What are you here for? One of the guards looked at Gooden. The fight had already started, and Gooden coming to the arena at this time naturally raised the suspicions of the two men. Move, I'm looking for someone. Gooden didn't care about these two men at all. These two men might look huge, but that was only enough to scare normal people. In Gooden's eyes, wild boars and bears were nothing to him. How dare you? I think you're here to cause trouble, aren't you? But open your eyes and look at where you are. You must be tired of living to dare cause trouble here. The man heard Gooden's words and chuckled, looking at Gooden like he was an idiot. But Gooden didn't care about people like this. His goal was clear, and that was to kill that Fighter Lee. Gooden casually pulled on the man, and he flew out with a cry, landing on the ground. Gooden didn't wait for him to say anything and went straight into the arena. The arena was brightly lit, and there was a lot of noise. On the arena, two people were fighting, and the crowd was cheering. But this didn't matter to Gooden. He was here to find Fighter Lee. But, in such a huge arena, where could he find Fighter Lee? Gooden didn't have any ideas, and after some thought, he jumped onto the arena. On the side of the arena, there were some staff and judges, but Gooden's movements were too fast. Before they could react, he was already on the arena. The audience, who were cheering for the fighters who were betting on each other, suddenly saw that there was another person in the ring. They were immediately stunned, and then let out cries of surprise. No one knew where this rustic young man came from. The two boxers who were fighting for their lives were also baffled by this scene. It was supposed to be their battle, why was there another person? Where's Fighter Lee? Come out and let me kill you with one punch. Gooden's goal was simple. If he killed Fighter Lee, naturally, he wouldn't let Yuan be his concubine anymore. Why would a dead man need a concubine? Go find a ghost girl to be his concubine. The two boxers on the stage were a little dumbfounded. Who was this person? Was he a mental patient? The two looked at each other and gave up fighting for now, walking towards Gooden. If they wanted to continue, they had to throw this crazy person off the stage first. Kid, you're here to cause trouble, aren't you? Do you know the consequences of interrupting us? One of the fighters with a red hat yelled coldly. You're Fighter Lee? Gooden said as he looked at the Red Hat fighter. Fighter Lee? What Fighter Lee? The Red Hat fighter paused. Since you're not Fighter Lee, then shut up. I'm here to kill Fighter Lee. Gooden waved his hand impatiently, gesturing for the Red Hat fighter to move aside. Chapter 11:15. Ere Gooden punches Fighter Lee. Below, Gooden clapped his hands and turned to the Green Hat fighter. Are you Fighter Lee? The Green Hat fighter couldn't help but frown. He wasn't sure where Gooden came from, but the kid was able to throw someone up in one hit. He must be pretty strong. So the Green Hat fighter didn't dare walk up. He only shook his head. Kid, you looking for me? Fighter Lee had already received a message from the two men at the door, saying that someone had forced their way into the arena. It seemed like they were here to cause trouble. As the boxing master of the arena, Fighter Lee naturally had to come out and see what was going on. And so, he just happened to see Gooden throw the Red Hat fighter away. You're Fighter Lee? Gooden raised his head and saw Fighter Lee on the second floor of the arena. Kid, what are you doing here? If you're here to cause trouble, then you've come to the wrong place. Tell me what you want, and I'll let you live. Fighter Lee smiled coldly, his heart already filled with killing intent. This kid was saying he was going to beat him to death. Fighter Lee was a petty person, so how could he take it? I'm here to beat you to death. Gooden frowned, impatient. What are you doing up there? Hurry up and come down, I'll beat you to death. Ha! Fighter Lee laughed instead of getting angry. Was this Gooden an idiot? How could he say such retarded words? Telling him to come down and let him beat him to death? What a lame joke. But, Fighter Lee still asked, I don't even know you, and you want to beat me to death? The audience started laughing as well. Fights were fun, but accidents like this were quite interesting as well, especially when Gooden said he was going to beat Fighter Lee to death. Are you that Fighter Lee who wants to steal you yuan? Gooden frowned, but he still wanted to confirm it. It wouldn't be good if he hit the wrong person. Oh. Are you here to stand up for you yuan? Very well, how dare you act cocky in front of me, Iron Fist Lee. You won't be leaving today. Fighter Lee's eyes flashed with rage. This Air Gooden wasn't Yuan's lover, was he? Otherwise, what did this have to do with him? With that thought, killing intent rose in Fighter Lee's heart. He was prepared to make Gooden stay. You're right, I'm here to stand up for you Yuan. Your grandpa dog egg, I punched a road roller and kicked an atomic bomb. It's fine if I call myself Iron Fist Dog Egg, but you, a filthy, shit-like person, still call yourself Iron Fist Lee. Pooh. Gooden spat out some phlegm in disdain, and the phlegm flew all the way to the second floor, landing on Fighter Lee's head. Why, I'll kill you. Fighter Lee wiped his forehead and jumped down from the stands, landing firmly on the stage. As a mystic mid-phase physical practitioner, this was a piece of cake. But, as soon as he landed on the stage, a hand came at Gooden. He was already furious, and wanted to kill Gooden with his fist. Gooden didn't dodge at all, raising his fist to meet Fighter Lee's fist head-on. Gotcha! Bang! A crisp sound, a muffled sound. Fighter Lee's body flew out of the ring. One of his arms was bent at an abnormal angle. Obviously, the gotcha sound was the sound of his arm breaking off. In the air, there was a streak of blood. It was spat out by Fighter Lee. He spat out blood as he flew through the air. With a pang sound, he landed heavily on the ground. Red and white blood flowed all over the ground. Then there was no more movement. Obviously, he would not survive. Ah! There was an exclamation of surprise from the audience. In this underground arena, it wasn't rare to kill someone, but to send someone flying and spit out blood was unheard of. This was something that could only be seen in movies. And so, the audience cheered again. Of course, they didn't know who Fighter Lee was, and they didn't know that he was the one who killed the Red Dragon. They thought that he was just a low-level fighter. Gooden saw that Fighterly was dead, and he didn't stay any longer. It was common for people to die in this arena, but he was afraid that the people here would call the cops. Before they could react, he jumped off the stage and ran out of the arena like a puff of smoke, leaving the place. But just as they stepped out of the arena, a taxi stopped not too far away. The people who got out of the taxi were Yuren and Yuanyuan, father and daughter. The two got off the car and saw Gooden running out. They quickly went up to him, but Yuanyuan spoke first. "How are you? Did you see Fighterly?" "Run, I killed him already," Gooden said in a low voice. "Ah. You killed him?" Yuanyuan's eyes were wide as she looked at Gooden in disbelief. "Yes." Gooden nodded. "Taxi." Yuanyuan suddenly remembered that the taxi was already paid, and they didn't have to wait. She turned around, and the taxi was already far away. Gooden scratched his head and reached out with both hands, picking up Yuanyuan and Yuren as he ran. Yuanyuan jumped in fright. She didn't think that Gooden could run this fast with two people in his arms. Was he even human? Yuren was dumbfounded as well. He didn't think that a human could run this fast. Gooden ran for more than a kilometer before stopping. Yuanyuan and Yuren's weight was nothing to him. He was carrying a few hundred kilograms of wild boar on his back, but he was still able to run like he was flying. "How did you run so fast? Are you even human?" Yuanyuan was put on the ground, scared out of her wits. She clutched her chest and pointed at Gooden, her face full of shock. "I'm used to running in the mountains," Gooden said. "All right, I killed that bastard, and he won't bother you anymore." "You really killed him? Aren't you afraid of getting sued?" Yuanyuan didn't think that Gooden would really kill him. She didn't really believe it at first, but after seeing Gooden's speed, she started to believe it. This guy wasn't simple. "Didn't you say that people dying in the arena was a common thing? They can call the police?" Gooden jumped. "Will the police come to arrest me?" Chapter 11:16. Yuren's thoughts with that thought. Yuanyuan said, "Fighterly gave me some money. Come to my house later and run with it. The police might not be looking for you, but I'm afraid the people in the arena won't let you go." "You think I'm scared of those filthy bastards? If they dare come, I'll beat them up." Gooden didn't really care about the people in the arena. Plus, what would you guys do if I left? If they came for you, wouldn't I be doing something bad? Yuanyuan didn't really care about the arena's revenge. It was just death. What could be worse than death? But who would want to die if they could? Seeing how Gooden didn't seem to care, Yuanyuan wanted him to stay, but she didn't want to cause trouble for him. "Hey, what's with this and that? I don't have a place to stay anyways, so I'll just stay at your house for a few days." Gooden was telling the truth. He had no money, and he even lost Boss Lin Yi's address. Where would he go? "Kid, did you really kill Fighterly?" Yuren pondered for a long time before finally asking. "That Fighterly was a piece of shit. I killed him with one punch." Gooden nodded. "Then what do you want to do in the future? What do you want to do in Songshan?" Yuren felt that Gooden wasn't a bad person, and his mind started working. If he could make Gooden work in his shop, that would be a good thing. His body was strong, and he'd be a good worker. Yuren's metal shop also sold building materials, but because Yuren couldn't deliver things to people's doorsteps, business wasn't that good. Now that Gooden was so strong, he'd probably be able to carry a toilet bowl or something, and so Yuren wanted him to stay. Especially with Gooden here, he'd be able to protect his house from the arena's harassment, so why not? Uncle, to tell you the truth, I came here to find my boss, but he put the address and the money in the handkerchief, and I can't contact him now. I don't know what I should do, Gooden said dejectedly as he thought about the stupid thing he'd done. Boss Lin Yi was still waiting for the potion, but in the end, he lost the address as soon as he arrived in Songshan. "Oh. How about this, why don't you stay at my shop and stay at my house for a while? You can look for your boss after you've settled down." Yuren said after some thought. All right, uncle, don't worry, I won't freeload. I have strength, I can work. Gooden nodded happily. All right, it's settled then. What's your name? What's your boss's name? Yuren nodded satisfied. This was great, he even saved his wages. I'm Zhou Jiming, my boss is Lin Yi. Gooden said. Lin Yi. I don't know him, Yuren shook his head. Songshan was huge, and it wasn't the same as a village. A lot of people didn't interact with each other for a lifetime. Then you can come to my house and settle down first. That's great. Gooden nodded. Yuan didn't object. In fact, when her father suggested letting Gooden stay, she was a little happy. She didn't really like Gooden, but since ancient times, beauties loved heroes, and Gooden was kind, honest, and had a sense of justice. He was the perfect prince in Yuan's heart, so she didn't reject him. And so, Gooden officially moved into Yuan's house. Yuan's mother had been frowning these 2 days. She knew what happened to Yuren and Yuan. She hated Yuren for going to the arena, but there was nothing she could do now. She could only accept her fate. House Yu's security door had been repaired, and they bought the cheapest door they could, which was replaced after the new house was renovated. Even so, it still cost 300 kwai, making Yuan's mother's heart ache. Yuren's mother knew that Yuan didn't have much time left at home. Fighter Li would be taking her away soon, so she quit her job as a nanny and prepared to stay with Yuan for a few more days. She made dinner and waited for Yuan and Yuren to come home. However, no matter how long she waited, they didn't come back. It was already an hour later than the usual time to get off work. Mrs. Yu couldn't help but call Yuan. Mom, what's up? Yuan's voice was a lot more relaxed, a change from the gloominess these days. Although this matter might not end with Fighter Li's death, it was most likely resolved. Yuan was very happy. This feeling of freedom was great. Yuan, where are you? Why aren't you home yet? Hearing her daughter's voice, Mrs. Yu let out a breath of relief. She thought that Yuan was taken away by Fighter Li today, but it didn't seem to be the case. Mom, Dad, and I are going home. There's a guest today. I'll tell you some good news when we get home. Yuan looked at Gooden and said. Oh. Good news? Mrs. Yu paused. Looking at the situation in House Yu, there wasn't much good news. Could it be that Fighter Li's situation had turned for the better? Thinking about that, Mrs. Yu quickly asked, Yuan, did Fighter Li's situation turn for the better? We're on the bus now, it's not convenient to talk about it in public. I'll tell you when we get home. Yuan wasn't stupid, although it wasn't a big deal for someone to die in the arena, she couldn't just talk about it outside, in case it caused trouble for Gooden. The arena, on the other hand, was in a mess. Scorpion didn't think that the arrogant Fighter Li would be killed by a young man called Grandpa Gooden. This was too weird, wasn't it? Scorpion quickly told the workers to take Fighter Li's body away, letting the two fighters continue the fight, in case it affected the audience's bets. After arranging everything, Scorpion quickly ran to the arena's office. Jiangwen, too, knew what happened outside the arena from the surveillance cameras. Fighter Li's death was out of his expectations. He didn't think that Fighter Li would be killed with one punch. Wasn't he a mystic mid-phase peak physical practitioner? How did he die just like that? Master 1, it's bad, Fighter Li was killed. Scorpion stumbled into Jiangwen's office and reported. Chapter 11:17. He had it coming. Jiangwen was a smart man. He saw Gooden beat up someone and leave the arena, but he didn't send anyone to stop him. He knew that if Fighter Li, a mystic mid-phase peak physical practitioner, couldn't handle him, who else in the arena could? Trying to stop him was clearly courting death. Master 1, what do we do now? Scorpion was panicking. Fighter Li's dead, there's no one left. It's not a big deal, but how do we explain this to the Fire Wolves? As long as the Fire Wolves don't object, they'll send us a new practitioner soon. Jiang Wen wasn't sad about Fighter Li's death at all. It didn't matter if he died, they didn't have a good relationship. But Fighter Li was a practitioner sent by the Fire Wolves. It wouldn't be easy to explain this to the higher-ups. Master Wen, this is easy to explain. Little Scorpion thought about it and agreed. The Fire Wolf gang wanted to continue making money in the arena, so they would definitely send another master. The main problem now was how to deal with Fighter Li's death, but Little Scorpion had an idea for this. Oh. Tell me. Jiang Wen said quickly. Young Master Wen, let's just tell the truth to the higher-ups. It's all Fighter Li's fault. He fell in love with a girl from a good family, but he didn't expect the girl's lover to be so powerful. He came to the door and killed him with one punch. Scorpion thought for a moment and said, Master Wen, you still have to complain to the higher-ups about this. Say that Fighter Li didn't listen to you, that he was arrogant and despotic, that's why he kidnapped a girl. If he listened to you and didn't cause trouble, he wouldn't have been beaten to death. Not bad, Scorpion, you have a brain. Jiang Wen nodded, good, I'll make the call now. Heh, you're flattering me, Master Wen. Scorpion laughed, isn't it all because you've taught him well? You can leave first. Jiang Wen waved his hand, signaling Scorpion to leave first. His conversation with his father and the Fire Wolves couldn't be heard by anyone, not even Scorpion. After Scorpion left, Jiang Wen quickly called his father, and Mingyue. Hello? Jiang Wen, why are you calling me at this hour? And Mingyue was having dinner with the vice leader of the Northern Division when Jiang Wen's call came in. Dad, Fighter Li was killed. Jiang Wen said. What? Fighter Li was killed? What's going on? How did this happen? And Mingyue was stunned and frowned. Today, the vice leader of the northern branch of the Fire Wolves was treating him to a meal on behalf of the leader. The meaning of this meal was actually to acknowledge Jiang Wen's recent achievements. The underground arena had only been established for such a short period of time, and they'd already earned a few billion. It was a gold mine. Jiang Wen's speed of earning money was the fastest in the history of the Fire Wolves, and the leader of the Northern Division planned to reward and promote Jiang Wen. And Mingyue was very happy, but he didn't expect something to happen at this critical moment. On the other side, the deputy leader of the Fire Wolf gang's Northern Division heard in Mingyue's words, and his expression immediately changed. He asked with a gloomy face, Mingyue, what's going on? How did Fighter Li die? I haven't asked clearly yet, let me ask him first. And Mingyue's forehead was covered in a layer of cold sweat. The Fire Wolves were strong, but a mystic mid-phase peak physical practitioner wasn't someone to be underestimated. They couldn't just let him die like that, and so Mingyue decided to find out the cause of the incident first and see if there was anything he could do. Give me the phone, I'll talk to Jiang Wen myself and ask him what happened. The vice leader waved his hand and took the phone from Mingyue's hand. One had to know that a mystic mid-phase peak physical practitioner was very important to the Northern Division of the Fire Wolves gang. They couldn't just let him die like that. There was no explanation. All right. And Mingyue didn't have a choice, he had to listen to the vice leader. He was worried that Jiang Wen would be punished, but he couldn't go against the vice leader's wishes. He regretted coming here today. He should have told his son beforehand, and maybe there would have been a way out. Hello? Jiang Wen? What's going on? Fighter Li is a master of our Northern Division. How did he get killed when he came to your place? How did such a big incident happen? The vice leader started to question Jiang Wen. Hello, is this the vice leader? Jiang Wen was a little tensered. This was his first time talking directly to a high-level member of the Fire Wolves, but he maintained his composure and asked respectfully. It's me, tell me how Fighter Li died, in detail. The vice leader said. Vice leader, I finally found a boss that I can talk to. Jiang Wen acted as if he was full of grievances. Vice leader, that Fighter Li didn't listen to my commands at all, acting like a tyrant and causing trouble. Look at him now, isn't he? He was beaten to death by someone. You have to help me, it's affecting the arena's business. Oh. The vice leader paused. From Jiang Wen's tone, it sounded like Fighter Lee was beaten to death, and he felt wronged. At first, the vice leader thought that Jiang Wen would just admit his wrongdoing. He didn't expect him to complain. He frowned and said unhappily, Jiang Wen, why are you so happy that Fighter Lee was beaten to death? Don't you know that you are responsible for what happened to a firewolf's master in your place? I am responsible? No way. Jiang Wen said, unsatisfied, Vice leader, he was looking for death. What does that have to do with me? He went out to flirt with a decent woman, and in the end, her lover came to find him and punched him to death. How could I stop this? Fortunately, her lover was reasonable and knew that every wrong has a perpetrator, and every debt has a debtor, so he didn't tear down my boxing field. Otherwise, I would have suffered a great loss. Chapter 11:18. Chapter 11:16, Valentine's Day Special. Note, Valentine's Day Special can be considered a theatrical version, not a reference to the main plot. Today was the 14th of February, the traditional Valentine's Day in the West. Heavy snowflakes were falling from the sky, blanketing everything in white. Most of the cities in the world were in the midst of a lively and peaceful atmosphere. Couples walked through the shops on the pedestrian streets, enjoying each other's company. But there was one place that was an exception. This was the border of a small European country, where the temperature was as low as -38 degrees Celsius. There was no hustle and bustle here. The quiet border was covered in snow, and the air was filled with danger. Lin Yi dug out a few mud balls from the fire in front of him and tossed them to the girl beside him. Eat. The mud ball that he had just taken out was still emitting hot air, but it soon cooled down. The girl's dexterous hands pushed the mud ball away. Inside was a roasted sparrow. The outer shell of mud had already stuck all the bird's feathers off, emitting a kind of primitive barbecued meat aroma. It was very mouth-watering. The girl brought the bird meat to his mouth and said happily, "Open your mouth, ah." "I'm not hungry." Lin Yi frowned and rejected the girl's good intentions. He stood up and said, "Wait for me here. I'll find some more branches. This fire isn't enough to last through the night. Don't go, I'm scared." The girl saw Lin Yi was about to leave and quickly stopped him. Lin Yi ignored the girl and walked out of the cave. "Eagle, wait for me. I'll help you too." The girl put down the bird meat and ran out of the cave with Lin Yi. Lin Yi's footsteps hesitated. He looked at the girl and didn't stop her. It was winter, and the ground was covered in snow. Even the branches were covered in snow, and it was hard to find them. But he didn't plan on picking them up either. He found a tree and jumped onto it, starting to break the branches off. The girl watched Lin Yi from the side, but she couldn't help. She stomped her feet and felt sorry for herself. If it weren't for their stubbornness, the two of them wouldn't have left the team. Lin Yi broke some branches. Seeing that it was almost done, he jumped down from the tree and found a soft vine to tie the branches on the ground. "I help you?" The girl looked at Lin Yi busying himself and felt a little apologetic. "No need," Lin Yi said expressionlessly. He quickly tied the branch and carried it on his back. The young girl felt that she was so useless. She wanted to help, but she couldn't help at all. "Eagle, I'm sorry. I really didn't know that what I did would cause trouble." For the past few days, Lin Yi had only been roasting the bird over the fire. He hadn't said a single word to the girl, which made the girl think that Lin Yi was angry. "Oh." Lin Yi responded faintly and walked towards the cave. "Hey, he already apologized to you, why are you still ignoring him?" The girl was a little anxious. The girl's identity was a representative of a big family in the country. This time, they were here to discuss a collaboration with a local tycoon. It was actually just a training for the young generation of the big family. Originally, this mission wasn't risky at all. Lin Yi was invited by Feng Tianlong to participate in this mission. This mission wasn't an official mission, but because of the powerful family behind the girl, Feng Tianlong naturally invited Lin Yi, an outsider, to be in charge of this mission. But who would have thought that after the discussion, when the group was about to enjoy the scenery at the border, something happened. At the border, they met a few poor children dressed in tattered clothes. They looked like refugees, so the girl asked the people accompanying her to give them some clothes and food. At that time, Lin Yi was against it, but the girl said that he had no sympathy. Lin Yi wanted to say something, but he didn't. He was just a bodyguard, and the others were all direct subordinates of the girl. The specifics were all decided by the girl. These people couldn't wait to flatter the girl, so why would they listen to an outsider like Lin Yi? So, they opened their luggage and flipped through almost everything. They found some food and clothes, afraid that the girl wouldn't be satisfied. Lin Yi frowned, but he didn't say anything. Don't show your wealth, that was the most basic rule. But these people who flattered her were all idiots. The children took the clothes and food and left happily. But not long after, an accident happened. A large number of armed forces rushed over. The children who received the girl's kindness weren't grateful. They called their parents and the armed forces began a large-scale plunder of the girl's group. Although there were masters in the group, in front of a large number of armed forces, they seemed insignificant. The ultimate goal of the armed forces was to detain the girl's group and rob them of their belongings. Under the attack of the armed forces, many of the people who couldn't resist surrendered, and the masters from the girl's family weren't a match for the guns and cannons. But as for the life and death of these people, Lin Yi didn't care at all. As for the things they brought, Lin Yi didn't have the obligation to protect them. To put it bluntly, Lin Yi was sent by Feng Tianlong just in case. When Lin Yi came, Feng Tianlong made it clear that he was only responsible for the girl's safety. So if something happened to the girl, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to explain himself. As for the others, if they wanted to die, they could die. Lin Yi had always been like this. But these armed forces were obviously only interested in the belongings the girl brought. They didn't want to kill them. After they knocked or injured the people, they didn't do any further harm. Seeing this situation, Lin Yi couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. But he still stood in front of the girl in case of an emergency. Can you please stop? We can give you all our belongings, but please don't hurt our people. Seeing this situation, the girl blamed herself and was a little nervous. She shouted loudly to stop them. Lin Yi frowned and wanted to stop the girl's actions, but the girl's words had already attracted the attention of the armed forces. Catch this girl. The armed forces saw the girl. Originally, they didn't notice the girl's existence during the plunder. She was the only female in the group, and in the armed forces where there were very few females, seeing a woman was like a hungry wolf seeing a real thing. The leader saw the girl's appearance and immediately had an idea. Chapter 11:19. Chapter 11:17, Valentine's Day Special 2. The subordinates of the leader of the armed forces surrounded the girl after receiving the order. The girl didn't think that not only did her words not solve the problem, but it also brought trouble to herself. She panicked. What are you doing? I've already given you all my belongings, why won't you let me go? The girl didn't think that these people would be so heartless. Girl, our leader has his eyes on you. If you know what's good for you, you'd better give up and come back with us. Otherwise, you'll get it. A muscular man with a submachine gun laughed coldly. Run. Lin Yi grabbed the girl's hand and started running without saying a word. With so many armed men, it was impossible for Lin Yi, who was only at the early phase of the golden class, to win. He could only take the girl and run. The girl was also at a loss from Lin Yi's actions. She stumbled from Lin Yi's pull, but Lin Yi didn't care so much. He grabbed the girl by the waist and ran in the opposite direction. Lin Yi didn't care what happened to the people who followed him. As long as he sent the girl back safely, he would be able to answer to Feng Tianlong. Let go of the girl if you don't want to die. The muscular man with the submachine gun behind Lin Yi didn't think that Lin Yi would run away with the girl. He immediately became angry and warned. Why would Lin Yi care about him? Time was of the essence. The earlier he ran, the less danger he would be in. Run again and I'll shoot. The muscular man saw that Lin Yi was ignoring him and was even more angry. He raised the submachine gun and aimed at Lin Yi. Lin Yi naturally wanted to run, but behind him came the sound of machine guns firing. Lin Yi didn't look back. He used the warning signal of the jade pendant to dodge the bullets coming from behind. The girl didn't think that the armed men would really shoot, especially with a submachine gun. Previously, they were only using guns as a deterrent. But now, it was obvious that they were serious. Put me down, I don't want to drag you down. The girl naturally knew who Lin Yi was. She knew that he was only here to help her family protect her. Her life and death actually had nothing to do with him. Among the people who came along, everyone treated the girl like she was a god, only Lin Yi didn't pay attention to her at all, and occasionally said a few words of opposition. Therefore, the young girl's initial impression of Lin Yi was very bad. She felt that this person was cold and didn't know how to give in to her at all. Was he even a man? But now, her followers were either kneeling on the ground begging for mercy or being knocked unconscious. At the crucial moment, it was still Lin Yi who brought her to escape. The young girl's heart couldn't help but ripple. Won't I implicate you? Lin Yi didn't explain anything. Lin Yi was a man of his word. He would do what he promised others. He promised Feng Tianlong that he would protect the girl, so naturally, he would keep his promise. Put me down, they have guns. The young girl was a little anxious. In her mind, under the situation of the submachine gun shooting from behind, the two of them wouldn't be able to survive. It was better to put her down and let her deal with the enemies. Lin Yi didn't have the time to reply to the young girl. He had to concentrate and use the strength of the warning signal from the jade to determine the direction of the bullets behind them. If he wasn't careful, he might get shot. This wasn't just one or two shots, it was a continuous barrage of bullets. The young girl saw that Lin Yi didn't move and immediately became anxious. She struggled on Lin Yi's body and prepared to get down. Don't move. Lin Yi frowned. The young girl's soft body in Lin Yi's arms emitted a faint fragrance. It already made Lin Yi's determination waver. After all, Lin Yi was at the age where he was full of vigor. With the young girl's movement, it made Lin Yi's breathing quicken and his heart flutter. Fortunately, Lin Yi's self-control was stronger. He didn't have any dirty thoughts towards the young girl. However, the young girl's movement was already making Lin Yi unable to bear it. Put me down. The young girl said without hesitation. Don't move if you don't want to die. Lin Yi said coldly. I won't move if you put me down. The young girl said. Bang! While Lin Yi was distracted, there was a muffled sound. Lin Yi's calf was shot. Although this degree of injury was nothing to Lin Yi, the pain still made Lin Yi frown. At this moment, Lin Yi's strength was only equivalent to the early phase of the golden class. Looking at the young girl who was still moving around in his arms, Lin Yi suddenly became angry. He reached out and hit her but. Of course, Lin Yi only wanted to teach her a lesson. He didn't want to hurt the young girl. Otherwise, with Lin Yi's strength, the young girl would probably be beaten to death if he continued hitting her. Ah dash, the young girl screamed. She never thought that Lin Yi would dare to hit her. Moreover, it was her butt. The young girl felt wronged. She was the little princess of her family. When had she ever been treated like this? Moreover, her butt was being spanked by a man. The young girl was embarrassed and angry. She scolded Lin Yi, let go of me. If you don't, I will go back and sue you for being a pervert. Your mouth is on your body. Do what you want, Lin Yi said indifferently. Lin Yi didn't belong to Feng Tianlong's side. He wasn't under Feng Tianlong's control. Therefore, no matter how the young girl complained, Lin Yi didn't care. The young girl saw that she couldn't scare Lin Yi. She could only give up. She pouted and unhappily let Lin Yi carry her as he ran. Although Lin Yi's running speed wasn't as fast as a bullet, he was much faster than the big man chasing behind. In a short while, Lin Yi had already left the big man far behind. However, Lin Yi didn't slow down. Although the big man was chasing on foot, the armed men had cars. Lin Yi was afraid that they would ask people to drive after him. On the snow, running could leave footprints. No matter how far Lin Yi ran, they would be able to find him. After running for a while, Lin Yi stopped. Can you put me down now? The young girl saw that Lin Yi stopped, so she asked. Lin Yi didn't answer. He still hugged the young girl tightly. He jumped up and flew onto a tree. Lin Yi didn't plan to walk on the snow. He was prepared to jump between the trees. Only by doing this could he cover his tracks and avoid being tracked by the armed men. The reason why Lin Yi chose to jump up the tree was because there was a cliff in front of him. In this way, Lin Yi created the illusion of jumping off the cliff to mislead the armed men. Ah! The young girl didn't think that Lin Yi would jump up the tree with her. She was shocked. What are you doing? Chapter 11:20. T003 Valentine's Day Special 3. After walking for quite a distance, Lin Yi finally stopped on top of a very large tree. Lin Yi estimated that the militants should have caught up by now, and he needed to stop and take care of the wound on his calf. Although this degree of wound wasn't a problem for Lin Yi, the bullet hadn't been taken out yet. After jumping for such a long time, Lin Yi's wound had become even more serious. Lin Yi placed the girl in his arms on a tree trunk at the side. The branches of the tree were very strong, and the space on the tree was large enough to be safe. Even if the girl didn't know martial arts, she wouldn't have fallen. The girl didn't say anything. She didn't think that Lin Yi would actually bring her out of danger. In her heart, she was secretly grateful to Lin Yi. It seemed that he was really different from her subordinates. Previously, the girl thought that if she stayed and negotiated with the militants, she would have a chance of survival, but if she ran away, she would definitely be killed by those people. But now, it seemed that her worries didn't come to pass. At the same time, the girl let out a sigh of relief and said seriously, "Thank you." Lin Yi wasn't interested in the girl's gratitude. Although the girl was beautiful, in his eyes, she was only an employer. No matter how beautiful the employer was, it was just a fleeting cloud. Lin Yi wouldn't have any thoughts about her, and he wouldn't be happy because of her change of opinion towards him. Lin Yi stood up and began to undo his belt and take off his pants. The girl was extremely grateful towards Lin Yi, but when she raised her head, she saw him taking off his pants towards her. She was instantly shocked. What are you doing?" The girl didn't think that just after she escaped danger, she would fall into danger again. Could it be that he saved her because he wanted to molest her? The girl's face became a little pale. Before, she had thought that he was a good person, but now, Lin Yi continued to take off his pants, ignoring the girl. If you continue like this, I'll jump down from the tree." The girl was a little anxious. She had just escaped from the wolves, and now she was in the tiger's mouth. How could she be so unlucky? "I got shot in the leg, can't you see? I have to take care of the wound." Lin Yi was annoyed by the questions, and finally pointed at his calf and explained. After listening to Lin Yi's words, the girl couldn't help but be stunned. She then looked in the direction of Lin Yi's finger and saw that Lin Yi's trousers were already soaked in blood. The girl was startled and said, "You were shot? Are you all right? If you didn't move, would I have been shot?" Lin Yi rolled his eyes and said angrily, "Stop arguing, I want to take out the bullet." Oh. The girl felt guilty. It turned out that it was because of her previous struggle that Lin Yi was shot. Thinking of this, the girl's eyes were filled with deep regret. "I'm sorry. Should I help you?" "No need," Lin Yi said faintly. He took out a small knife from under his shoe and quickly dug out the bullet in his calf. Then, he took out a small bottle of powder and sprinkled it. The girl's heart skipped a beat. Just as she was about to say something, the sound of a car came from not far away. "Don't make a sound." Lin Yi waved his hand and said, "They are coming." The girl nodded and held her breath subconsciously. But fortunately, the car just circled around and left. They didn't find anything wrong. They didn't even get close to the tree. They left. The girl looked at Lin Yi carefully. Lin Yi responded and put on his trousers. "Then, let's go back," asked the girl. "Go back where?" "Your people have probably been captured by them. If there are no accidents, they will use these people as hostages to negotiate with the local government and ask for a ransom." Lin Yi said faintly, "You will be captured when you go back. Then will we always be on the tree?" The girl's face was a little strange. "We can't go down for the time being." Lin Yi shook his head. "Not yet? Didn't they leave?" the girl asked with some doubts. "They will come back," said Lin Yi. After listening to Lin Yi's words, the girl was slightly stunned. She felt a little unbelievable, but she still nodded and didn't refute. In her opinion, Lin Yi shouldn't harm her. Sure enough, about 10 minutes later, the jeep that had left before drove back again. It wandered around for a long time before stopping under a nearby tree. The girl's eyes widened. Lin Yi was right. These people actually came back. If it were me, I would have thought that the danger had disappeared and I would go down from the tree. Now, I would have been discovered. Where did they go? Did they really jump off the cliff? The leader of the militants came down from the jeep. His face was a little sinister, and he looked around angrily. Then he said, Continue searching for me. I haven't seen such a beautiful girl for a long time. Leader, I suspect that they have jumped off the cliff. There are no footprints nearby." The man with the submachine gun said carefully. "I told you to search." The leader of the militants said with some unwillingness, "If they are alive, I want to see them. If they are dead, I want to see their bodies. You must bring that girl back for me. After I'm done playing with her, I'll let you play with her." "Yes." When the man heard the leader's promise, he immediately became spirited and said, "I'll go around to the bottom of the cliff to take a look." The girl's face was very pale, full of shame and anger. She didn't expect these people to be so shameless. Fortunately, Lin Yi was by her side. Otherwise, her innocence might have been ruined here. Lin Yi was right. It was impossible to reason with these militants. In their eyes, there was no reason at all. The girl faintly sighed. Fortunately, she had Lin Yi by her side. Otherwise, the people who followed her seemed to be loyal, but in fact, they only knew how to flatter and would drop the ball at the critical moment. "We can go now." Lin Yi looked at the jeep in the distance and let out a sigh of relief. The warning signal from the jade had disappeared. This meant that these people wouldn't be coming back in a short period of time. Oh. The girl had learned her lesson and nodded obediently. This time, Lin Yi still didn't choose to go down the tree. It seemed that this area was still within the armed forces' territory. Since their search could extend to here, there was no guarantee that they would come back again. So, in order to avoid trouble, Lin Yi decided to continue to move forward on the tree. The wound on his leg had already started to heal. Jumping between the trees was not a difficult thing for a person with the strength of the early phase of the golden class. Chapter 11:21. T004 Valentine's Day Special 4-inch Eye. The girl blushed. She had never been so close to a man before. However, she knew that she was not a cultivator. Her bloodline was not suitable for cultivation, so it was impossible for her to jump from tree to tree. If she wanted to move forward, she still had to rely on Lin Yi. However, it was indeed a little embarrassing to be carried by Lin Yi. The girl was also afraid that it would be inconvenient for Lin Yi to carry her, so she hesitated and said, "How about, you carry me on your back?" "Heh, okay." This was the first time Lin Yi smiled after facing a formidable enemy. The girl was stunned. "You can still smile? I thought you didn't know how to smile. You were born with a cold face." The girl's relationship with Lin Yi was not good before because Lin Yi was the only follower who did not flatter her. Moreover, no matter what the girl suggested, Lin Yi would object most of the time. From his point of view, the purpose of this trip to a small European country was to complete the business negotiations. Other than that, everything else was unnecessary. Therefore, the girl thought that Lin Yi was a person who did not understand human emotions. He always put on a fierce poker face and did not know how to be flexible. But now, the girl finally understood that what Lin Yi said before was for her own good. In this kind of foreign country, her follower had no experience at all. Obviously, Lin Yi had a lot of experience. Just like before, if she had listened to him and not exposed her wealth, she would not have gotten herself into trouble. Lin Yi did not answer the girl. Instead, he turned around and let her lean on his back. Although 16 years old was not very old, the girl's chest had developed well. When she leaned on Lin Yi's back, it was inevitable that her chest would press on Lin Yi's back. This made the girl very shy. But in this situation, she could not care so much. Just as Lin Yi said, if those people found out, the girl's chastity would be lost even if she did not die. Therefore, the girl only hesitated for a moment before leaning on Lin Yi's back and hugging his neck. When Lin Yi stood up, he inevitably had to support the girl's buttocks. Otherwise, if the girl directly hung on his body, Lin Yi would suffocate. The girl's face suddenly turned red, but she was behind Lin Yi, so Lin Yi could not see it. Although the girl's buttocks felt good and he could feel the softness of the girl's chest on his back, Lin Yi could not think so much at this moment. It was more important to escape. Lin Yi crossed many trees again. After about half an hour, Lin Yi stopped and jumped down from the tree. At this moment, Lin Yi had run very far away. There was a mountain range in front, and they should be out of the armed forces' territory. Lin Yi put the girl down. "It's about time, we should be out of the enemy's range. Do you have a phone on you? Contact the embassy and ask someone to send a plane to rescue us. Mine is in my backpack. I don't have it with me. Don't you have it with you?" The girl was put down, but her face was still red. Just now, when she leaned on Lin Yi's shoulder, the strong masculine scent made her heart beat faster. Lin Yi frowned. He took out his phone and looked at it. He said faintly, "My phone has no signal here. Only your satellite phone can talk." Lin Yi brought a domestic phone, which could use the local communication network. However, they were now at the border. This should be a blind spot. Only the satellite phone could communicate with the outside world, but the girl did not bring it with her. Ah! The girl was shocked, and then an apologetic expression flashed on her face. I don't know. The satellite phone is too heavy. I thought everyone's phone could use it, so I put it in the suitcase." "I'm sorry," Lin Yi shook his head. It was probably the girl's first time out. She was inexperienced, so he did not say anything more. After all, everyone's phone had a signal. The girl did not think that the satellite phone would be useful. Satellite phones were bigger and heavier than ordinary phones. It was not convenient for a girl to carry it around. "My phone has a GPS function. I can only wait for my friend in China to locate us and find something wrong. Then, he will come to rescue us." Lin Yi was not worried. He turned on the phone's GPS. This was basically a passive location. Lin Yi could not take the initiative to send the current information back. "Thank you." At this moment, the girl sincerely expressed her gratitude to Lin Yi. "No need." Lin Yi said faintly, "There is a cave in front. Let's go take a rest." I will go find something to eat, wait. What's your name? The girl suddenly gathered her courage and asked. Eagle, don't you know? Lin Yi said faintly. I mean, my real name. The girl explained. 01, Lin Yi said. 01? What is this? The girl was stunned. Code name, Lin Yi said. If you don't want to tell, then I won't tell. The girl pouted. She was a little unhappy. My name is Yuning. Oh. Lin Yi replied before turning around to look for food. They must be prepared as soon as possible. It was not certain when the rescuers would come. If they were not well prepared, they were likely to die here. The cave was very shallow, and one could see what was going on outside just by sitting inside. The girl hugged her legs and curled up in the cave, quietly watching Lin Yi's silhouette walk away. Watching him disappear from her sight, the girl suddenly felt very lonely. She felt a little lost. It was the first time she was so intimate with a man in private, but he seemed to be very cold to her. Was he still holding a grudge? This was the whole story. Yuning followed Lin Yi. She wanted to help, but Lin Yi's movements were very fast. He had already returned to the cave with the branch. The girl could only follow behind Lin Yi. She was at a loss. The two returned to the cave and sat in front of the fire. Lin Yi closed his eyes to practice the art of dragon mastery. There were few people here, but the air was far better than other places. Lin Yi didn't want to waste this good opportunity to practice. Since he could fall here, it was a blessing and a curse. Yuning looked at Lin Yi, who closed his eyes to rest. She was a little bored, but also a little curious. Although Yuning did not come into contact with many people, she did come into contact with some of the young men from the aristocratic families. Those men were either attentive to her or flattered her in every possible way, but none of them were like Lin Yi, who ignored her. Chapter 1122. T005 Valentine's Day Special 5-inch Let's Talk. Yuning hesitated for a moment and finally asked. What do you want to talk about? Lin Yi opened his eyes. To be honest, Yuning was indeed a very attractive girl, especially for Lin Yi. In addition to Xiao Qi, she was the first woman that he was alone with. However, when he was with Xiao Qi, he was too young. Lin Yi's memory of this was somewhat vague and faded. However, Lin Yi was a very principled person. Yuning was his employer. Lin Yi would not let their relationship go beyond half a step. It was not in line with Lin Yi's style. You must have experienced a lot of interesting things. Can you tell me about it? Lin Yi's alertness and decisiveness made Yuning deeply curious. Yuning thought that he must be a person with a story. Although he looked about the same age as her, he must have had an unusual life. No. Lin Yi flatly refused Yuning's question. Yuning was a little annoyed. How could this person be so insensitive? Looking at Lin Yi closing his eyes again, Yuning stood up. She decided to go out and look at Lin Yi's poker face. It was too boring. Don't go far. Lin Yi did not open his eyes, but said to Yuning. Humph. Yuning snorted. It was an answer to Lin Yi's words and ran out of the cave. Lin Yi did not stop her. There was no danger nearby. The militants should not find them, so Lin Yi did not stop her. Yuning left, and Lin Yi breathed a sigh of relief. For the first time, he was alone with a beautiful girl. Lin Yi suppressed the puberty in his heart. He was unconsciously touched. Although Lin Yi knew Yuning's identity, Lin Yi's heart still inevitably beat faster. With a beauty by his side, it was impossible for a virgin like Lin Yi not to panic. Although he tried his best to calm himself down, it was not very effective. Lin Yi's state of mind was not as steady as it would be 2 years later. In the end, he was still a normal man. Lin Yi closed his eyes to practice. He didn't want to have too much contact with Yuning. In the wilderness, a man and a woman, this was the most likely situation for sparks to fly. Although Lin Yi was eager for something to happen, his reasons stopped him. Moreover, Lin Yi was very clear that the other party was the person in charge of this negotiation, the little princess of a big family, and he was just an accompanying bodyguard. Was it realistic to have something happen with the princess? Yu Ning ran out of the cave, but she didn't go far. She didn't want to cause trouble for Lin Yi, so she piled up a snowman near the cave. House Yu was a mysterious house, and the reason why they were able to prosper and become the leader of the hidden houses was because of some unknown secrets. She was the inheritor of House Yu. She was the inheritor of House Yu's strength after the death of the old ancestor. This was also the reason why she couldn't practice. Her bloodline was born for inheritance. According to the instructions of House Yu's ancestor, Yu Ning must start her life's trial after the age of 16. Only by passing the trial could she receive the inheritance. During the trial, she couldn't add masters who were under the protection of the family, or else the trial would lose its meaning. Of course, these were the top secrets of House Yu. Yu Ning didn't know. She only knew that her bloodline wasn't suitable for practice. The reason why the family sent her out was to train her and make her a successful person. The children of House Yu didn't necessarily need to practice. The big House Yu also needed a leader. Yu Ning's grandfather had repeatedly revealed that he wanted Yu Ning to take care of the family business in the future. So Yu Ning thought that the trial now was just to better manage House Yu in the future. Of course, if she wasn't a practitioner, she couldn't be the head of House Yu. She was only responsible for taking care of the hidden House Yu's business. In fact, it was similar to a housekeeper, second only to the head of the house. What Yu Ning didn't know was that her family had high expectations of her. She was the hope of this generation of House Yu. If she could successfully receive the inheritance of House Yu's ancestor, then House Yu would rise and become an existence that surpassed the hidden houses and even the ancient sects. But this was only a legend. House Yu's people weren't sure if the inheritance would succeed. But the ancestor of House Yu wouldn't lie to them. No matter what, having hope was always good. House Yu wasn't an ancient sect, but the old ancestor of House Yu had discovered an ancient ruin when he was young, and in the ruins, he accidentally inherited the martial arts of that ancient sect. However, due to some flaws, it caused him to go mad, and his strength was greatly reduced. Even so, House Yu still became the leader of the hidden houses. But later, according to the research of the ancient ruin, he found out that the reason why he went mad was because he inherited the martial arts of two people. These two people were the martial arts of the two guardians of this ancient sect. These two people's martial arts complemented each other, but one was water and one was fire. They couldn't be passed on to the same person, otherwise, they would definitely suffer from Qigong deviation. The most important point was that these two guardians were female, and House Yu's ancestor was male. But when the ancestor of House Yu realized this, it was already too late. He hoped that after he passed away, according to the secret method mentioned in the ancient ruin, this martial art would be passed on to his unborn granddaughter. Yu Ning had a lot of fun playing in the snow. After making a snowman, she wrote the word 01 on the snowman. Then she drew the face of the snowman into a poker face. After all this, Yu Ning finally couldn't help but laugh out loud. Lin Yi was pulled back to reality by Yu Ning's laughter. He frowned. This laughter made Lin Yi a little upset. At this age, his resistance to girls was very poor. Lin Yi didn't want to think about Yu Ning, but in his mind, he couldn't help but think of Yu Ning's face. Opening his eyes, Lin Yi frowned and pretended to be unhappy. "What are you laughing at?" "Huh, come and see." Yu Ning pointed to her masterpiece and winked at Lin Yi. Lin Yi got up and walked out of the cave. When he saw Yu Ning's snowman, he couldn't help but smile. He didn't expect Yu Ning to make such a snowman, but it was quite a good image. "It's okay," Lin Yi said faintly. "Of course, I am Genius Ning. This is Genius Ning's masterpiece." Yu Ning got Lin Yi's affirmation and was very happy. However, after Lin Yi finished this sentence, he turned back to the cave. In Lin Yi's heart, there was a kind of vigilance and rejection of Yuning. He warned himself not to get too close to her, otherwise, if something happened, the old man would definitely not forgive him. Chapter 1123. T006 Valentine's Day Special Chapter 6 Inch I'll kick you to death. Kick you to death. Who asked you to ignore me? Yuning obviously thought that the snowman was Lin Yi. How could a 16-year-old girl be so shrewd? All emotions were shown on her face. This was also the most impulsive age. The more indifferent Lin Yi was, the more Yuning was unwilling. Why? Even if you are here to assist House Yu in these negotiations, you don't have to act so high and mighty, right? After breaking the snowman, Yuning was a little distressed. She wasted half a day's effort, and now she broke it on impulse. It was a bit of a pity. House Yu was located in Yanjing, where it rarely snows. Yuning rarely saw snow, so she had a lot of fun. Although the snowman was broken, Yuning didn't want to build it again. Instead, she went to play other games, leaving footprints in the snow. Although it was very cold outside, Yuning still had a lot of fun. Her little face was red from the cold, but it was the first time she played with such abandon, carefree. At home, if Yuning wasn't learning the 4 arts, she would be learning the management of her family. There was no time to play at all. Lin Yi didn't eat anything. He just stuffed the leftover bird meat into his mouth, but when he was practicing, he didn't need to eat too much. In the blink of an eye, it was evening, and it was dark outside. In the distance, there were a few howls of wolves. Yuning was a little scared, so she ran back to the cave, but her whole body was frozen. It's so cold. Yuning put her hand on the fire and warmed herself. Lin Yi opened his eyes, picked up a few branches and put them in the fire, making the fire a little bigger. Yuning looked at Lin Yi's cool poker face, and a trace of slyness appeared in the corner of her mouth. It seemed that he still cared about her. When she was warming herself, he helped her add firewood. He must be afraid that she was too cold. In fact, Lin Yi was not wrong to care about her, he just didn't want to express it. This is the first time I spent the night alone. Yuning looked at the burning fire and felt that it was very novel and exciting. In her past 16 years of life, she never thought that she would spend the night in a cave. Lin Yi was stunned. He pointed at himself and shook his head with a bitter smile. Alone? Am I not human? Little girls from large clans really have strange thoughts. Yuning saw Lin Yi's stunned expression. She also thought that there were some mistakes in her words. Embarrassed, she said, I mean, spending the night with a stranger. No, not a stranger. It means spending the night with a boy. Looking at Yuning's incoherent look, Lin Yi faintly smiled. Yuning's pretty face reflected by the fire was more beautiful than during the day. This scene was indeed very romantic, and Yuning's words made people's imagination run wild. Lin Yi sighed slightly and tried to restrain his emotions. He said, Nothing, are you hungry? I'm not hungry, I'm a little sleepy. I want to rest for a while. Yuning shook her head. At this time, not far from the cave, there was the sound of a wolf howling. During the day, the frontier fortress was very quiet, but at night, all kinds of beasts came out. I'm a little scared. You will be by my side to protect me, right? Yuning subconsciously shrank her body in front of the fire. She was just a 16-year-old girl. How could she have experienced such a scene before? Indeed, spending the night in the cave in front of the fire was exciting and romantic. But if there were beasts nearby, then the romance would turn into fear. There is a fire here, the wolves will not come in. Lin Yi said faintly. If the wolves were not hungry or for a reason, they would not easily get close to the fire. Lin Yi had the experience of surviving in the wild and naturally knew this. Oh. Yuning nodded. At night, Lin Yi would not fall asleep. He was always in a state of cultivation. So if a beast really entered the cave, Lin Yi could respond immediately and kill the beast. Yuning sat in front of the fire and fell into a deep sleep. She was too tired. Before, it was a thrilling escape, and after that, it was a crazy play. This required physical energy, so Yuning quickly fell asleep. She didn't know how long it took, but Yuning felt very uncomfortable. Her whole body was cold, and she kept shivering. Did the fire go out? Yuning subconsciously opened her eyes. Yuning's slight movement had already made Lin Yi return to reality from his cultivation. Seeing that Yuning woke up, Lin Yi did not care and closed his eyes again. So cold. I'm so cold. Yuning found that the fire was not extinguished, but her body was cold. Lin Yi opened his eyes again and looked at Yuning strangely. Lin Yi did not feel cold. On the contrary, with the fire burning, Lin Yi felt very warm. But because of this, Lin Yi felt that something was wrong. What's wrong with you? Lin Yi stood up and walked to Yuning's side. I'm so cold. Yuning shivered with cold. Lin Yi looked at Yuning carefully and saw that her face had an unusual blush. He suddenly frowned and reached out to touch Yuning's forehead. Although Yuning was very cold and uncomfortable, she was awake. When Lin Yi's hand touched her forehead, Yuning's body suddenly trembled, and an unprecedented shyness and heartbeat spread throughout her body. So hot? Lin Yi frowned. He did not expect Yuning to have a fever at this time. Thinking about it during the day, Yuning played in the snow for almost an afternoon. She should have caught a cold at that time. At that time, Lin Yi did not care, but looking back and thinking about it, Yuning was not a cultivator. It was freezing outside. Lin Yi was fine, but for an ordinary person, a cold was a normal thing. Lin Yi suddenly became a little anxious. In addition to the injury medicine, he did not bring any other medicine. All the commonly used medicines were placed in Yuning's luggage, and his own silver needles were also in the luggage. Even if Lin Yi was proficient in medical skills, there was nothing he could do. A cold and a fever could not be easily solved by massage. If there were silver needles in hand, he could achieve the goal of reducing the fever by needling a few acupuncture points. Cold. Yuning felt colder and colder. Her whole body was shivering, and her teeth were constantly chattering. Lin Yi hesitated, and there was some struggle in his heart. Chapter 1124. T007 Valentine's Day Special Chapter 7. The special chapter can be read as a secondary line of the book. There will be some hidden spoilers. N. Yuning moaned a little. It was the first time she was so intimately hugged by a man, but at this moment, Yuning felt so warm, so safe. With a beauty in his arms, Lin Yi wasn't Lu Xiaohui. He still couldn't practice the peerless divine art of sitting still. The only thing Lin Yi could do was to try his best to restrain his desire. He always reminded himself that he was treating Yuning's illness. He didn't want to take advantage of her. But the night was long, a man and a woman alone. In this situation, it was inevitable that something would happen. For the first time in 16 years, Yuning had a very peaceful feeling. Lin Yi's broad arms gave her infinite warmth. Yuning once again fell asleep. When she woke up again, Yuning felt that her body no longer had the cold feeling before. Instead, it was replaced by a very comfortable warmth. It was warm, it made her feel very comfortable. This kind of feeling made her a little reluctant, and she was also a little shy and embarrassed. After all, at this moment, she was lying in the arms of a strange man. This was something that Yuning couldn't imagine before, but now, it happened, and it made her reluctant. Was this the feeling of liking someone? Yuning was very confused. In the past 16 years, her emotional life was a blank. The purpose of contacting those young masters was only for the sake of social benefits. It was arranged by her family to pave the way for her to take over the power of House Yu. Lin Yi's perception was very keen. The beauty in his arms woke up. Lin Yi immediately felt it. He opened his eyes and whispered, "You woke up. How do you feel?" I'm still so cold." Yuning lied. She didn't know why she lied, but she did lie. Yuning's face was very red, but fortunately, it was night time. Under the reflection of the fire, her face was a little red, so she wasn't afraid of being seen by Lin Yi. Lin Yi reached out and touched Yuning's forehead. What he felt was a normal body temperature. He couldn't help but be stunned. Yuning's fever had already subsided. How could she still feel cold? Could it be that only the fever on his forehead had subsided, but not on his body? Thinking of this, Lin Yi subconsciously extended his hand to Yuning's armpit, but inevitably, he touched Yuning's chest. Unexpectedly, Lin Yi's hand was slightly sluggish, but it was as if he was deliberately touching it. Yuning snorted, and her face became redder, but she didn't say anything to stop it, nor did she make a move to stop it. The electric shock made Yuning have an unprecedented feeling, and her breathing became rapid. Yuning let out a low moan, but even if it was so low that it could not be heard, in this quiet cave, Lin Yi could hear it clearly. Lin Yi's heartbeat could not help but speed up a lot. The temptation of this sound was unimaginable. For a moment, Lin Yi almost had a feeling of burning desire. Yuning's heart was nervous and looking forward to it. Could it be that the legendary thing was about to happen? Yuning was not a casual person, but at this moment, she really had such an idea. There was no doubt that Lin Yi was a man who made her fall in love with him. This was the first man who walked into her heart. Before, Yuning's impression of Lin Yi was undoubtedly very bad. Lin Yi's coldness and indifference made Yuning very uncomfortable. From the beginning of joining the team, Lin Yi had always been indifferent to Yuning. But even more, when Yuning proposed some action plans, Lin Yi always sang a different tune to her. This made Yuning hate him in her heart. How could this man be so arrogant? Even if you were sent by a special department to assist your family in business negotiations, you can't have such a high and mighty attitude, right? Don't you know how to be tender to the fairer sex? Yuning viciously guessed that Lin Yi must be gay, and there was a problem with his sexual orientation. However, the facts later proved that Lin Yi was a great and extraordinary man. His judgment was always right, and when she was in danger, he was the first to protect her without any regard for his own safety. Even when he was shot because of her willfulness, he still did not have any complaints. At this moment, Yuning was moved. She didn't know if this was love, but sometimes love was so simple. Love and hate would change in an instant. The hate from before would turn into love. The moment Su Xian saved the white snake fell in love with Su Xian. So at this moment, Yuning also fell in love with Lin Yi. Perhaps at the age of 16, her feelings were not mature, but she dared to love and hate, regardless of the consequences. Yuning forgot about the family behind her, and forgot the expectations of the Yu family for her. Time only stopped at this moment. She hoped to always rely on the arms of Lin Yi, to make her feel happy and at ease. However, Lin Yi's hand, at this time, pulled away, which made Yuning's heart feel a little lost. She wanted Lin Yi to continue, but she was too reserved to say it. Hug me. I'm cold. Yuning lied again. Yuning's words undoubtedly made Lin Yi's mind more impulsive and unclear. Lin Yi didn't care whether Yuning was cold or not, he reached out and hugged her tightly. The breathing of the two people became hot and heavy. Yuning slightly turned her head and closed her eyes. She was nervous and looking forward to it. This undoubtedly made Lin Yi even more excited. Looking at Yuning's slightly raised mouth, Lin Yi had an impulse to kiss her. The lips of the two people were slightly close, and they were about to touch. Suddenly, there were a few howls of wolves outside the cave. Lin Yi instantly restored his calmness. He raised his head and looked outside the cave. Under the dark night, there was a pair of flashing lights. It was the eyes of the wolves. Lin Yi breathed a sigh of relief and let go of Yuning's body. He almost made a mistake. If something really happened today, then Lin Yi's career would be over. Having a relationship with an employer was unforgivable. The old man at home would punish him. There are wolves coming, Lin Yi said faintly. Yuning also opened her eyes, and her beautiful eyes flashed a trace of disappointment. She was so proactive, but he didn't like her? Or was he really disturbed by the wolves? Dead wolves, broken wolves, two stupid wolves. I'll dig out your eyeballs and step on them. Yuning cursed to herself. She raised her head and looked outside the cave, but when she looked, she was shocked by the number of wolves. Why were there so many wolves? There were more than 20 of them. Chapter 1125. T008 Valentine's Day Special Chapter 8 Lin Yi secretly found it funny. Although Yuning's voice was very small, it could not escape Lin Yi's ears. However, Lin Yi did not say anything. The previous situation was a bit ambiguous, and it gave Lin Yi some headaches. He almost couldn't control himself. Although he reined in the horse at the edge of the cliff, could he really act as if nothing had happened? Undoubtedly, the relationship between the two people was much more ambiguous than before. Let's wait and see, they should not come into the cave. Lin Yi said faintly. However, this was only a comfort for Yuning. Now that the situation outside was out, Lin Yi's heart did not have any confidence. These wolves were probably hungry. In this snow-covered wasteland, it was really a bit difficult for wolves to find food. And now that they found their target, they should not give up so easily. If it was one or two wild wolves, they would retreat, but the situation now should not be so easy. Oh. Yuning was still a little scared. She drilled into Lin Yi's arms and gathered her courage to say, "Can you hug me?" Lin Yi did not respond. He had already made a mistake before. He couldn't make a mistake again. Lin Yi did not reach out to hug Yuning, nor did he push her away from his arms. At this moment, Lin Yi's heart was very contradictory. Yuning saw that Lin Yi was indifferent. Her heart was a little resentful, but it also aroused her competitive mentality. She turned around and took the initiative to hug Lin Yi. She leaned her head on Lin Yi's chest and quietly listened to Lin Yi's heartbeat. At this moment, Yuning forgot the horror of the hungry wolves. In Lin Yi's arms, she felt safe. The wolves surrounded the entrance of the cave. At this time, it was a competition of patience. When the sky was bright, they would retreat, but they were waiting for the people in the cave to impatiently come out. Or was it to make sure that the fire in the cave was not dangerous? Finally, one of the wolves became impatient and tried to approach the cave. The fear brought by the fire had been overcome by hunger. If there was nothing to eat, it could only starve to death. Yuning saw this scene and couldn't help but exclaim, "Aren't they afraid to come in? Even a cornered dog will jump over a wall, let alone a hungry wolf." Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He had underestimated the courage of the nearby wolves. Lin Yi wasn't afraid of the hungry wolves. Lin Yi could guarantee that he wouldn't be hurt if the wolves besieged him, but Lin Yi was afraid that these wolves would hurt Yuning while besieging him. It was impossible for him to kill so many wolves at once. It was unrealistic. "I'm scared." Yuning didn't lie this time. She was really scared. "Oh, it's okay." Lin Yi comforted her, but his eyes were fixed on the wolf that tried to walk into the cave. The wild wolf walked and stopped. It seemed to know that everything in front of it wasn't as calm as it seemed on the surface, but it was hungry after all. After a short test, it impatiently crawled over here. Yuning couldn't help but exclaim. She hugged Lin Yi's hand a little tighter. Lin Yi frowned. He didn't expect this wolf to be so bold, but in this case, it was impossible to expect it to retreat. In an instant, Lin Yi had the intention to kill. He only hoped to kill one to warn others, otherwise, the problem wouldn't be solved. "Wait for me, we will have meat to eat tomorrow morning." Lin Yi faintly removed Yuning's hand from his body and said. Yuning was obviously reluctant, but there was no other way. She couldn't wait for the wolf to come over, right? So Yuning obediently let go of Lin Yi, but she said to him, "You be careful." Lin Yi didn't speak, but suddenly ran to the wolf. He lifted his leg and kicked the wolf's head. The bold wolf didn't even have time to groan before it was kicked out by Lin Yi. It fell heavily on the stone wall of the cave and died. Lin Yi's action was ruthless, but it shocked the wolves outside. Those wolves who were originally moving forward all took 2 steps back. Yuning also exclaimed subconsciously. She didn't expect Lin Yi to be so powerful. He kicked the wolf to death with 1 kick, but it made her originally nervous heart relax a lot. After Lin Yi kicked the wolf to death, he didn't return to Yuning's side. Instead, he stood in the same place and looked coldly at the wolves outside the cave. The wolves were indeed a little scared. They knew that Lin Yi was a very dangerous prey, but they were hungry, so they didn't leave here. They still waited outside the cave, waiting for the opportunity to move. Perhaps in the eyes of these wolves, although Lin Yi was powerful, he was not the opponent of their group of wolves. If Lin Yi was really powerful, then he could kill them all. I'm a little scared, can you come back? Yuning subconsciously called out to Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't answer. At this time, he couldn't leave. He had to keep an eye on the movements of the wolves. Yuning saw that Lin Yi didn't pay attention to her. She was a little unhappy and pouted, but Lin Yi obviously couldn't see it because Lin Yi didn't have eyes on the back of his head. After a while, 2 hungry wolves finally couldn't hold it in anymore and walked over to Lin Yi's side to test the waters. 2 wolves, Lin Yi could still easily deal with them. What Lin Yi was looking forward to now was that if these wolves walked forward in small groups, then Lin Yi would be enough to deal with them. However, he was afraid that they wouldn't be like this, and if they swarmed him, then it would be a little troublesome. After the 2 wolves walked to the entrance of the cave, 1 wolf quickly rushed to Lin Yi, but the other did not rush to Lin Yi, but rushed to the body of the wolf that Lin Yi had just killed in the cave. Lin Yi's mouth flashed a sneer. This wolf was quite smart. It seemed that the sense of teamwork between the wolves was too poor, and each had their own ideas. Originally, 2 wolves were facing the enemy together, but one of them had a different idea and went to grab the body of the other wolf. Wolves were carnivores, and they also eat the corpses of their own kind. Therefore, the wolf felt that Lin Yi was more difficult to deal with, so it wanted to drag the body of its own kind. However, how could Lin Yi let it succeed? Lin Yi first took care of the hungry wolf that pounced at him with a single punch, and then with lightning speed, he took care of the wolf that went to drag the corpse of its own kind. Lin Yi sneered and piled the bodies of the 3 wolves together. He looked coldly at the wolves outside the cave. 2 more hungry wolves that tried to test the waters turned into corpses, which made the wolves outside a lot more cautious and careful. They once again retreated a distance, but they still had no intention of leaving. Chapter 11:26 T009 Valentine's Day Special Chapter 9 After a while, the wolves were a little impatient, but they did not choose to leave. Instead, they chose to act as a group. Among the wolves, there was obviously a leader. After it shouted at the wolves all approached the cave together. Lin Yi was suddenly shocked. He did not expect that this group of wolves was actually an organized wolf pack. Before, when he saw the 2 wolves that were not harmonious, Lin Yi thought that these wolves were spontaneously walking together. "Ayo!" The leading wolf let out a mournful howl. "You hide behind me." Lin Yi took a deep breath. He couldn't leave Xiao Ning behind. Not to mention that Xiao Ning was the person he wanted to protect. Even if she wasn't, based on the relationship between the 2, Lin Yi couldn't ignore her. Although Yuning was afraid, when she heard Lin Yi's words, she still got up and hid behind Lin Yi. "You will protect me, right?" Lin Yi nodded. Yuning smiled slightly and hugged Lin Yi from behind and hugged Lin Yi. Such a bold move, if it was any other time, she would definitely not dare to do it, but today, she did it naturally. In this kind of environment, it was completely possible to do things that she usually wouldn't dare to do. Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly. Yu Ning hugged him from behind, so that he couldn't clean up the wolves that ran over, so that both of them would be trapped by the wolves. Thinking of this, Lin Yi said to Yu Ning, "You let go of me." "No." Yu Ning thought that Lin Yi wanted to drive her away, so she stubbornly shook her head. Lin Yi was stunned and somewhat helpless. He could only turn around and hug Yu Ning. He held her buttocks and let her sit in his arms. Lin Yi held Yu Ning with one hand. For Lin Yi, this was not a difficult thing. This level of weight was nothing at all. In this way, although it was still a bit of a burden, Lin Yi could free up one hand and two legs, which was enough to deal with the attack of the wolves. Yu Ning was shocked by Lin Yi's sudden move, but her heart was very sweet. It turned out that he wanted her to let go because he wanted to hug her. Lin Yi didn't have time to explain so much to her, because the wolves had already rushed in. "Close your eyes," Lin Yi said to Yu Ning, and then he made his move. Dealing with these beasts was nothing for Lin Yi. When Lin Yi was young, he often went up the mountains to hunt. The two of them were wild boars and kicked wild wolves. These wolves were not enough to enter Lin Yi's eyes. The reason why Lin Yi asked Yu Ning to close her eyes was that Lin Yi didn't want to scare Yu Ning. He wanted to start a massacre, and it must be much more bloody than before. A burst of howling and screams of the wolves came one after another. A hungry wolf fell to the ground, the cave wall, and died. In the blink of an eye, most of the wolves were dead or injured. The leading wolf finally couldn't stand it anymore. It howled loudly and led the remaining wolves to quickly evacuate the cave. In the blink of an eye, they ran away. In their view, Lin Yi was already in existence like a natural enemy. They couldn't defeat him. Staying was just sending themselves to death. If they didn't run now, when would they? "Okay, you can open your eyes," Lin Yi said. "Is it over?" Yu Ning opened her eyes, but she saw the dead bodies of the wolves in the cave. She was suddenly shocked. "You killed them all?" "Some ran away." If Lin Yi wanted to kill them all, it wouldn't be difficult. It was just that he was holding Yu Ning, so it was somewhat inconvenient for him to move, so he let the wolves go. In fact, Lin Yi didn't have any hatred with these wolves. They came to him purely out of instinct. Lin Yi couldn't lower himself to a group of animals. Killing these wolves was enough for him and Yu Ning to eat for a few days. There was no need to kill all the wolves. "I knew that you would protect me regardless of your own safety." Yu Ning smiled sweetly and said happily, "If you die, I won't be able to explain." Lin Yi knew what Yu Ning meant, but Lin Yi couldn't let the situation develop. He could only say so. Yu Ning's expression was gloomy. She licked her lips, but in the end, she didn't say anything. Lin Yi put Yu Ning on the ground. Although Yu Ning was unwilling to let go of Lin Yi's neck, Lin Yi was half squatting there. He didn't intend to continue to hold her. Yu Ning was not willing to be outdone. She was stiff on Lin Yi's body. Lin Yi's half-squatting posture was not easy for ordinary people to maintain. After a while, his legs would be sore, but it was nothing for Lin Yi. It was much easier than when he was a child. In the end, Yu Ning finally couldn't hold it anymore. She first compromised and came down from Lin Yi. She said with some complaints, "You are so cruel." Lin Yi didn't say anything. He turned around to deal with the bodies of the hungry wolves in the cave and piled them together. I want to go to the toilet," Yu Ning suddenly said. "Oh, then I will go out." Lin Yi turned around and walked out of the cave. "No, I want to go outside." "This is a place to live," Yu Ning said. "Oh, then you go out." "I won't go out of the cave." Lin Yi turned and walked back into the cave. "But I am afraid, you accompany me." Yu Ning's current mentality was similar to other girls in their rebellious period. The more Lin Yi avoided her, the more unwilling she was. She couldn't care so much and became more bold. It's okay. You can just dig out their eyeballs and step on them. Lin Yi couldn't help but tease her. Ah. Yu Ning was stunned. She immediately thought of her own bold words. She didn't expect that she was talking to herself in such a small voice, but Lin Yi actually heard it. Yu Ning suddenly felt embarrassed, but then she thought, so what if he heard it? Anyway, she was bold enough. She wasn't afraid of what Lin Yi would think, so she said, I mean, you kill them, then I will step on their eyeballs. Lin Yi was speechless for a while. Sometimes there was no reason to talk to a girl, then let's go, I won't look at you. Yu Ning frowned and didn't say anything. She hoped that Lin Yi would peek at her. Although it would be a little shy, at least it proved that Lin Yi was interested in her. Out of the cave, Yu Ning found a tree root, untied her pants, and let out water. The sound of water made her blush. She looked at Lin Yi not far away, but found that he was looking in the opposite direction from her. This made Yu Ning a little lost. Did he really not feel anything for her? Chapter 11:27. T010 Valentine's Day Special Chapter 10. Lin Yi's heart was somewhat tangled. Although he had performed a lot of tasks, he was still a 16-year-old boy. If he said that he had no feelings for Yu Ning, he would be deceiving himself. But having feelings didn't mean that he could act according to his own ideas. Lin Yi took a deep breath and resisted the urge to look back. His eyes looked into the distance and quietly felt the movement nearby. The wolves had obviously gone far away. They didn't have the courage to stay. Yu Ning shyly pulled up her pants and washed her hands with the snow on the ground. Then she stood up and walked to Lin Yi's side. Are you done? Let's go back. Lin Yi felt Yu Ning coming over, so he asked. Well, but I don't want to go back. Can you accompany me to the entrance of the cave to look at the stars? Yu Ning said, the sky here is clearer and cleaner than in the city. You can see more stars. Okay. Lin Yi did not refuse. He felt that some things must be talked to Yu Ning openly. The relationship between the two people must be clear. Yu Ning and Lin Yi sat at the entrance of the cave. There was a fire burning behind them, but they didn't feel cold. Today is Valentine's Day, Yu Ning said. She was a little annoyed with Lin Yi's silence. If you don't talk to him, he is like a wooden man, not saying a word. Is it? It seems that it has passed. Lin Yi asked. This is the happiest Valentine's Day I have ever had. Yu Ning ignored Lin Yi's words and continued, on my 16th Valentine's Day, I think I found someone I like. Lin Yi's heart was suddenly shocked. What Yu Ning's words meant, Lin Yi was very clear. Yu Ning actually wanted to confess to him in this environment. Although this seemed to be a good thing, Lin Yi didn't think so. He had to rein in the horse at the edge of the cliff and kill this unstarted relationship in the cradle. You're only 16 years old. You're too young to understand what love is. In this environment, we've experienced many things together. Perhaps you mistakenly think that this is love, but it's not. Lin Yi interrupted Yu Ning's words and said, when you return home, you will find that everything is so ridiculous. No, I know what I'm thinking. What's so young about 16? In ancient times, they even had children. Besides, you're only 16, right? Why are you lecturing me? Yu Ning asked with some excitement. She was somewhat dissatisfied with Lin Yi interrupting her confession. Really? Then you can continue. Lin Yi was helpless against Yu Ning's stubbornness. He was thinking about how to convince her. Eagle, I like you. Yu Ning finally said the words that she had been suppressing for a long time. After that, she breathed a sigh of relief as if she had completed a major event. What do you like about me? The reason why Lin Yi let Yu Ning continue was that he wanted to solve this matter from the root cause. You give me a sense of security. Before, because I got into trouble, in such a dangerous situation, you could have escaped alone, but you risked your life to protect me. You were injured because of my willfulness, but you didn't complain at all. Yuning said, at that moment, I fell in love with you. Miss you, don't you think your idea is ridiculous? I'm a bodyguard, responsible for your safety. If it was someone else, they would do the same. My duty is to be responsible for my superiors. What does it have to do with me risking my life to save you? Lin Yi said coldly, in other words, if the object of my protection was not you, I would also do the same. That I don't care. Anyway, you are the first man to walk into my heart in 16 years, and you will definitely be the last. Yuning shook her head stubbornly, I just like you. When I go back, I will tell my mom and dad. Let them contact your superiors and ask you to come and protect me. Oh, that's good. Wait until you can come and talk. Lin Yi was full of confidence in this. If he was Feng Tianlong's subordinate, he would have some concerns, but he and Feng Tianlong were in an equal relationship. Lin Yi only assisted Feng Tianlong's department to do some things, but to say that he ordered him, that was impossible. Yuning also heard something, but she didn't give up. If that doesn't work, then every time there is a task, I want you to accompany me. Well, whatever you want. Lin Yi explained helplessly, but what I want to tell you is that people like us can't have love. I can die at any time. I can't give you what you want. If you are wise, you should give up quickly. This is good for both you and me. I won't let go. In the future, I won't allow you to do such a dangerous job. Why don't you resign and accompany me? Yuning said overbearingly. Oh, well, I don't like you. I have a girlfriend. Lin Yi really had no choice but to say so. Yuning was silent. Lin Yi's explanation made her a little overwhelmed. If Lin Yi simply refused her love, then Yuning didn't care. But Lin Yi said that he already had a girlfriend. What hope did she have? Okay, that's all I have to say. Don't mention this topic again. Lin Yi saw that Yuning was silent, and suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that his words had some effect. No. Yuning suddenly exclaimed, you are lying. Didn't you say before that people like you can't have love? Then where did you get a girlfriend? This. Lin Yi didn't expect his own reason to be so contradictory. He suddenly felt a little embarrassed. However, in this case, the more he explained, the worse it would get. Lin Yi helplessly turned his head and ignored Yuning. After a while, Yuning saw that Lin Yi still turned his head and ignored her. Yuning first compromised, okay, let's not talk about these things. Let's talk about something else. Okay? What do you want to talk about? Lin Yi asked. Tell me how you spent your previous Valentine's Day. Yuning asked. If I didn't deliberately think about it, I wouldn't even know that yesterday was Valentine's Day. It was the same before. If I wasn't performing tasks, I was staying at home. Lin Yi said faintly, isn't it boring? In fact, I am such a boring person. This Valentine's Day, don't you think it's special? Yuning asked. Didn't you say not to talk about this topic? Lin Yi didn't fall for it. Oh, then I'll tell you about my past. Yuning felt that she should let Lin Yi understand her past. Maybe after she said it, Lin Yi would tell her about his past. Otherwise, he would be embarrassed not to say it, right? Okay. Lin Yi responded faintly. When I was young. Yuning began to talk about her past, and Lin Yi listened quietly. He really listened carefully to understand the girl's past. Of course, these things could only be buried in the bottom of his heart. Gradually, the sky turned white, and dawn came. And Yuning was also sleepy, and gradually fell asleep in Lin Yi's arms. Lin Yi didn't refuse, but quietly enjoyed this moment of warmth. This Valentine's Day, Lin Yi would always remember it in his heart and never mention it again. Chapter 1128. Guaranteed Success Vice Leader. He's a mystic mid-phase peak physical practitioner. Why would he listen to me? And when he came, you guys told me that he was here to help me, but he wasn't my underlings, so my words were useless. Jiang Wen smiled bitterly. I've found him a lot of girls, but that Fighter Lee is a psychopath, and he likes good girls. He wanted to force them to be his concubine, but unfortunately, that girl's lover is also a master, and he killed him with one punch. Jiang Wen, you're not lying, are you? The deputy leader frowned. He always felt that killing Fighter Lee, who was a peak middle-phase mystic class master, with one punch was a bit unimaginable. Vice leader, I wouldn't dare lie to you. I have the surveillance video of the whole process. I can send it to you immediately. Jiang Wen said quickly. Okay, send it to me then. The vice leader saw how confident Jiang Wen was, and guessed that he probably wasn't lying. He didn't know that Jiang Wen was actually exaggerating, but from the video, he couldn't tell. After all, Fighter Lee was already dead, and the dead couldn't tell the truth. All right. Jiang Wen said, Vice leader, what about my arena here? I can't do without someone holding the line. What if there's someone I can't handle? Don't worry, I'll report this to the leader, and we'll send another master as soon as possible. The vice leader said, but try to find out who the person who killed Fighter Lee is, and how strong he is. Vice leader, if you send another person, he won't be as arrogant as Fighter Lee, will he? If he causes trouble again, I can't do anything about it. Jiang Wen smiled faintly. You don't know, Songshan is a place with crouching tigers and hidden dragons. There are a lot of masters, and if he causes trouble, he'll be easily killed. Ugh. I'll think about that, the new master. I'll order him to listen to you, and not let him cause trouble. The vice leader said. Then I can still restrain them. Jiang Wen was overjoyed. This was exactly the effect he wanted. He had a master by his side, and if he couldn't order them around, it'd be very annoying. Now that Fighter Lee was killed, Jiang Wen was in control again. So he continued, Vice leader, and the person who killed Fighter Lee, I suggest that we stop investigating. This kind of person could kill Fighter Lee with one punch, a mystic mid-phase peak master. You can imagine how strong he is. It's better not to make enemies with this kind of person. Since he's only here to seek revenge from Fighter Lee, then with Fighter Lee dead, he shouldn't be looking for trouble with the boxing field anymore. Why bother provoking him? You're right, if he really did kill Fighter Lee with one punch, then he'd be at least a mystic late phase, maybe even an earth class. Someone like that, if we don't have a deep grudge against him, it'd be best if we don't make an enemy out of him. However, Fighter Lee's death would have been in vain. The vice leader thought that Jiang Wen's words made sense. He deserved his death, we don't need to avenge him. My main goal is to make money. If I get into trouble like this, then how can I open this boxing field? Jiang Wen didn't care at all about Fighter Lee's death, and he didn't even think about avenging him. Jiang Wen, on the other hand, felt that it was best not to involve the boxing field. I'll discuss this with the leader first. After all, he's from the Firewolves gang. If he died for nothing, then wouldn't it seem like we're afraid of him? If word got out, it'd affect our reputation. The vice leader sighed and said, it'd also disappoint the brothers of the Firewolves gang. Then if you want to investigate, you better send more masters to investigate. I don't dare. You know that I'm just a normal person, I can't participate in a fight between masters like this. Jiang Wen really didn't want to make enemies for Fighter Lee. He was living quite a carefree life now. He had 2 kidneys, and he could be considered a complete person. He was doing business every day, and other than getting Mengyao, Jiang Wen didn't have anything else to ask for. So Jiang Wen didn't want to go against those masters at all. That's fine, you should focus on running the boxing field, the leader and I will investigate this. The vice leader said. After hanging up, Jiang Wen finally breathed out in relief. It seemed like he had successfully removed the responsibility. Since there was no evidence, he'd just push all the blame onto Fighter Lee. Jiang Wen didn't object when Fighter Lee wanted to make Yu Yuanyuan a concubine, but Fighter Lee didn't investigate Yu Yuanyuan's background clearly. Jiang Wen made a call and called Scorpion in. Master One, you're looking for me? Scorpion asked respectfully. Yes, I'll tell you, I've already told the vice leader about Fighter Lee, and now we're on the same page. Jiang Wen said and told Scorpion what he said before. Did you hear that? If the higher-ups investigate, you tell them. Don't worry, Master One, I've remembered it. Scorpion nodded and praised, Master One, you really are a genius. This way, the masters sent by the higher-ups will be under your control. Humph, of course. How can they not be under my control when they're working in my field? Jiang Wen felt that he was very smart, too. Not only did the higher-ups not pursue Fighter Lee's case, but they also sent masters who would be under his control, right? You better go comfort Yuan, tell her and that Go Dan that it was all Fighter Lee's doing, it has nothing to do with our boxing field. Fighter Lee is already dead, I hope she won't vent her anger on our boxing field, you know what to do, right? I understand, Master One, if it doesn't work, I'll just give her some money, I'll definitely take care of it. Scorpion knew what Jiang Wen was thinking. That Gooden was too strong, he could kill Fighter Lee with one punch, he couldn't afford to offend someone like that. If he went back unhappy and came looking for trouble again, would the boxing field still be open? Okay. Go do it, Jiang Wen waved his hand, signaling Scorpion to leave. Chapter 1129. What's wrong with you? Jiang Wen had gotten rich recently, and he'd been playing with a lot of girls, including some virgin schoolgirls, but Jiang Wen wasn't very interested in them. He still thought that Meng Yao was better. Childhood sweethearts, after all. It was hard to forget. Jiang Wen realized that he liked Meng Yao more and more. Uncle Chu, it's me. After leaving the arena, Jiang Wen got into his Ferrari and called Peng Zhan. Oh. Jiang Wen, what's up? Peng Zhan asked faintly. Peng Zhan's impression of Jiang Wen had never been too good, especially after the incident last time where Jiang Wen tried to take advantage of the situation. His impression of Jiang Wen had taken a nosedive. Uncle Chu, where are you? I'd like to pay you a visit. Jiang Wen said. I'm at the company, I'm not done yet. There's no need for a visit, we can talk on the phone. Peng Zhan's attitude was clear. He didn't want to meet Jiang Wen. Jiang Wen wasn't happy after being rejected. He cursed in his heart. Peng Zhan, you old bastard. If it weren't for Lin Yi, Peng Zhan Industries would have been destroyed a long time ago. You're still at the company? Go stay at home. Huh, it's nothing. It's just that I haven't seen you in a while, Uncle Chu. I just wanted to say hello. On the surface, Jiang Wen was still very polite. He hadn't fallen out with House Chu yet, so it didn't matter if Peng Zhan didn't like him. I see. Thank you. Peng Zhan said faintly. I still have things to do. I'll hang up first if there's nothing else. Uncle Chu, I really wanted to help you last time. You didn't agree to my conditions, but I was planning to help you in the dark. I didn't expect Lin Yi to recover his strength so quickly. Huh, so I was late. I hope you don't blame me, I wasn't in a good situation back then. Jiang Wen explained. I know. I don't blame you. Peng Zhan's tone was still calm. Alright, I won't disturb you then, Uncle Chu. Good luck with your work. Jiang Wen hung up, depressed. He'd wanted to pay Peng Zhan a visit and then go to Meng Yao's villa with him, but it seemed like his wish was dashed. He'd have to go by himself if he wanted to go to Meng Yao's villa. Lin Yi and the Miss didn't expect Jiang Wen to come at a time like this. Jiang Wen had tried to ask Meng Yao for her hand in marriage when House Chu was in trouble. Lin Yi knew about this, and so did the Mississippi. Lin Yi didn't cause trouble for Jiang Wen last time because Jiang Wen didn't do anything to harm House Chu. Jiang Wen went into hiding after that, so Lin Yi didn't bother with him. Yao Yao lil sis, long time no see. You're getting prettier and prettier. Jiang Wen handed the rose to Meng Yao. Meng Yao frowned. Although she was disgusted, she still took the flower and passed it to Shu. Shu, this is for you. Shu, this is for you, shield bro. Oh. Yushu took the flowers and smiled at Lin Yi. Shield bro, this is for you. Ha. Lin Yi took the flowers and looked at Jiang Wen's green face. A cold smile appeared on his face. Lin Yi always had the upper hand when fighting with Jiang Wen. As long as Jiang Wen didn't do anything out of line, Lin Yi wouldn't do anything to him. Plus, Lin Yi had some understanding of Jiang Wen's background. Jiang Wen wasn't a big deal, but Jiang Wen had the fire wolves behind him. Lin Yi didn't want to make too many enemies for House Chu. The Shao family's problem wasn't solved yet. If the power behind Jiang Wen jumped out again, it'd be troublesome. Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't care. He could just leave and go back to Star West Village. There was old Lin and Heir Gooden. Anyone who came would die. But House Chu wasn't the same. If Lin Yi left, what would happen to the Miss and Shu? Jiang Wen had always wanted to kill Lin Yi, but he never succeeded. Lin Yi was too strong. Even with Fighter Li, he didn't dare fight Lin Yi head-on. Wasn't Ma Zhu strong? Didn't he get crippled by Lin Yi in the end? So, Jiang Wen could only swallow his anger and act like he didn't care. He smiled. What, aren't you going to invite me in? Yao Yao sis? Oh, please come in. Meng Yao was a polite person. She was annoyed by Jiang Wen, but she still moved aside to let Jiang Wen in because of their childhood friendship. But, Meng Yao didn't give Jiang Wen any face after entering the villa. She continued watching TV with Yushu. Jiang Wen was going crazy when he saw the cartoon. He didn't want to watch it, and they didn't have anything in common. Even if he wanted to talk to Meng Yao, they wouldn't be able to. Ha ha ha. Meng Yao and Yushu burst into laughter as they watched the scene unfold on TV. Jiang Wen frowned. Was this funny? But for Meng Yao, he had to force himself to continue watching. He knew that Meng Yao and Yushu wouldn't talk to him until they finished watching the cartoon. He'd get scolded if he disturbed them. He watched for a while, but Jiang Wen still couldn't get into it. The only interesting thing was that the characters were a little funny. After a strange character appeared, Jiang Wen finally started laughing, but as he laughed, Jiang Wen felt that something was wrong. Meng Yao and Yushu weren't laughing. He was the only one. Jiang Wen stopped laughing when he saw Yushu's murderous gaze. He looked at Meng Yao and Yushu awkwardly. What are you laughing at? Is there something wrong with you? Yushu asked. Ugh. Jiang Wen lowered his head awkwardly. Finally, the Miss turned off the TV after the cartoon was over. Jiang Wen took the opportunity to ask, Yao Yao sis, it's almost the Labor Day holiday. What are your plans? Are you planning to go out and play? I'm planning to. Meng Yao understood what Jiang Wen wanted. He wanted to invite her and Yushu to go out and play during the holiday. Chapter 1130. Not letting you go. Jiang Wen had always believed that feelings were something that needed to be nurtured. Only when two people spent a long time together could they develop feelings for each other. And so he kept creating opportunities for himself. Don't bother, we'll go on a road trip. Meng Yao rejected Jiang Wen's suggestion. She'd already discussed with Shu and Lin Yi that they'd go to the seaside the night after Lin Yi's product launch. A road trip. Jiang Wen wasn't expecting Meng Yao to choose a road trip, disappointed. He'd been thinking of going somewhere more romantic abroad with Meng Yao, but it didn't seem like that was possible anymore. They could only do it around Songshan. But so be it. Jiang Wen couldn't control Meng Yao's thoughts and could only go along with her. A road trip is good, it's more relaxing and less stressful. Count me in? I'll go with you guys. There are some things that girls can't do, so leave it to me. Things like carrying bags, I can do it. No need, we have Shield bro. You're too weak, you don't even have a kidney. You can't do anything heavy. Yushu didn't like Jiang Wen either. I have a kidney now, I got another one. I'm a normal person now. Jiang Wen quickly explained. He was afraid that Meng Yao would misunderstand that his kidney wasn't working properly and affect their sex life after marriage. I'm going with a classmate. There's someone else other than me and Shu. It's not convenient for you to go with us. Meng Yao rejected Jiang Wen's suggestion. Jiang Wen frowned. He didn't expect Meng Yao to be going with a classmate. But he didn't plan on giving up. This was a good opportunity. It's fine. How about this, I'll drive with Tai Zhao too. We'll go our own way, what do you think? Up to you. Meng Yao said faintly. There was no reason for her to reject Jiang Wen's suggestion. It wasn't like she could restrict his freedom, after all. It was his right to go wherever he wanted. It didn't matter as long as he didn't interfere with her. Then it's settled. When are you guys leaving? Where are you planning to go? I'll prepare beforehand. Jiang Wen's face lit up when Meng Yao agreed. Let's go to the beach. We'll leave on May 1st. Meng Yao didn't try to hide it. It wasn't much of a secret, she knew Jiang Wen's personality very well, he wouldn't stop until he got what he wanted. If she didn't tell him, he might even send people to her house to follow her. Alright, Tai Zhao and I will be waiting for you at the entrance of your villa on the afternoon of May 1st. Jiang Wen didn't expect Meng Yao to be this easygoing. Could it be that Meng Yao was actually welcoming him? Jiang Wen knew that Meng Yao was cold on the outside but warm on the inside, so he couldn't be blamed for thinking that way. Jiang Wen was very excited at the thought of this possibility. He wanted to go back and discuss with Tai Zhao how he was going to pick up girls. Having achieved his goal, Jiang Wen didn't stay any longer. He stood up and said goodbye to Meng Yao and Yushu, leaving the villa. Yao Yao, how did you tell him our destination? Yushu asked Meng Yao curiously after Jiang Wen left. It's all for you and Xiao Xiao, isn't it? What would you two do if you didn't have a villain? Meng Yao smiled. Oh, Yao Yao, so you're that bad too. Yushu realized that Yao Yao wanted Jiang Wen to go so that it would be more fun. Lin Yi couldn't help but smile after hearing Meng Yao's words. So the miss had a side effect too. In fact, Meng Yao really couldn't take it anymore. She had no choice but to do this. Under normal circumstances, Meng Yao didn't like to play tricks on people. Let's go upstairs, I'm sleepy. Meng Yao didn't say anything else and turned to the stairs. Yushu and Lin Yi waved goodnight and ran upstairs with Meng Yao. Lin Yi shook his head and went to Falbert's room. Lin Yi wanted to talk to Falbert about Jiang Wen. On this road trip, it was fine if Jiang Wen behaved himself, but if he tried anything funny, Lin Yi wouldn't let him go. But he still needed to discuss the specifics with Falbert. When Lin Yi pushed open the door to Falbert's room, Falbert was practicing. Seeing Lin Yi come in, Falbert smiled and opened his eyes. Lin Yi, you're here. Falbert, how are you? Did you improve? Lin Yi asked about Falbert's strength. Although I'm only one step away from the mystic class, the spiritual energy in this area is too thin. It takes a long time to absorb the spiritual energy. I won't be able to break through in a short time. Uncle Fu shook his head. In fact, Lin Yi had guessed this as well, he was just asking casually. Lin Yi knew about this as well, he'd only broken through to golden class with old Lin's treasures. Naturally, he knew how thin the qi in the natural world was. It was a world of difference compared to the jade space. This was also why Lin Yi was only golden class for more than 10 years, but after discovering the secret of the jade space, he broke through a few levels. Right, Falbert, Jiang Wen came just now. Lin Yi changed the topic. I have a feeling that he's up to no good, what do you think? Jiang Wen has always had a crush on Yao Yao, and he's someone who doesn't stop until he gets what he wants. Falbert knew Jiang Wen's personality very well, and his words hit the nail on the head. Then Falbert, you mean? Lin Yi asked. Lil Yi, how much do you know about the fire wolves? Falbert didn't answer Lin Yi's question and asked instead. The fire wolves. I don't know much about them. Lin Yi shook his head, it's because I don't know much about them that I didn't do anything to Jiang Wen. We're in troubled times right now, and I don't want to make more enemies. That's right. Falbert nodded, you're right. The firewolves may be a gang, but they're not to be underestimated. They've been established for a long time, and when I was the young master, the name of the firewolves was well known among the hidden houses and small sects. It could be said that the firewolves are no weaker than the hidden houses and small sects. Oh. The firewolves are that powerful? Lin Yi blinked. Yes, Jiang Wen is from the firewolves, but I don't know House N's position in the firewolves, so it's better not to touch him for now. Falbert nodded, you can teach him a lesson, but you can't kill him. Chapter 1131. Grandpa Gooden misses. You looked at Gooden, and the more she looked at him, the more she liked him. She felt that this guy was a good person, simple and friendly, quite a good match for her daughter. She didn't think as much as Yu-Ren, just thinking that Gooden was a good person was enough. But Yu-Ren was thinking about how to make Gooden stay. Gooden was strong, and if he stayed in the hardware shop to help him, his business would be very successful. Yuan, on the other hand, was much more natural in front of her savior, Zhou Jiaming. Thank you so much for this. I'm really sorry before, I thought you were just joking, I didn't think that you would actually kill that fighter Li. Ha. Gooden smiled honestly, you can call me Air Gooden, I'm not used to my real name. Actually, I didn't do much. It's just a small matter for me to deal with that kind of filthy brat. I'll just call you Zhou Jiaming, Air Gooden. I don't think it sounds good, Yuan couldn't bring herself to say such a vulgar name. As the two were talking, there was a knock on the door. Yu-Ren and Mrs. Yu jumped in fright. They were worried that Fighter Li would be killed by Air Gooden, and that the arena would send people to take revenge. But with Air Gooden here, it gave them some confidence. Now that someone really knocked on the door, they couldn't help but feel nervous again. Old man, it wouldn't be an enemy, would it? Mrs. Yu's face was shocked, not daring to open the door. I'll go see. Yu-Ren was nervous as well, but last time, Fighter Li sent the door flying with one punch, and Yu-Ren felt that he couldn't pretend he wasn't home. He could only force himself to open the door. Uncle Yu, I'll go with you. Gooden stood up, wiping the oil off his mouth nonchalantly as he walked to the door with Yu-Ren. With Gooden with him, Yu-Ren was much more at ease. He came to the door and asked carefully, Who? Who is it? Yu-Ren? I'm Scorpion. Scorpion was ordered by Jiang Wen to send money to Yu-Ren's family. It's someone from the arena. Yu-Ren's face tensed up as he looked at Gooden carefully. Gooden didn't care, he opened the door and looked coldly at Scorpion. Who are you? What do you want? I am Xiao Luozi, I am here to apologize to Yu-Ren and Yuan. Scorpion shivered when he saw it was Gooden. If it weren't for the fact that he had a mission, he would have turned and run already. Who was Air Gooden? He was someone who could kill Fighter Li with one punch. Would Scorpion dare mess with him? Little Scorpion? How dare a person like you call Uncle Yu by his name? Do you want to die? Gooden's eyes went wide as he raised his hand, about to slap him. Grandpa Gooden, please spare me. Xiao Luozi's legs softened and he knelt on the ground. Cold sweat dripped down his forehead. Uncle Yu, I'm here to apologize to you. Is your brain made of sh*t? Gooden wasn't happy. You call me Grandpa Gooden, and Uncle Yu is Uncle Yu, so you're saying that I'm older than Uncle Yu? Are you trying to drive a wedge between us? Yes, it's Ancestor Yu, Ancestor Yu. Scorpion quickly changed his words. He didn't think that Gooden would be so logical. All right, hurry up and tell me what you're here for. Gooden said impatiently. Grandpa Gooden, I'm here on behalf of the arena to apologize to Ancestor Yu. That Fighter Li is so arrogant, and it's all because of him. I hope you can be magnanimous and don't take it out on us. Scorpion said pitifully. All right, I got it. What else do you want? Gooden said impatiently. This is a bank card with 1 million. It should have been won by Ancestor Yu, but because of Fighter Lee's interference, Ancestor, you lost. Scorpion quickly took out a bank card and handed it over. Please accept it. Gooden took it and gave it to Yu-Ren before turning to Scorpion. Alright, get the fuck out, I don't have time to deal with mule people like you. That's... Yu-Ren had never seen such a huge bank. He was so shocked that he didn't dare take it. But, after hearing Gooden's confirmation, Scorpion was already running away. Yu-Ren had the bank, there was no way he could return it. At this moment, Yu-Ren and his family breathed a sigh of relief. Scorpion came personally to apologize, and didn't come to question them. This meant that the underground arena was afraid of Gooden. Not only did they not dare to cause trouble for him, but they were also afraid that Gooden would cause trouble for them again. That was why they gave him this 1 million credit card. Yu-Ren felt like he was dreaming as he held the 1 million bank. He had 1 million just like that. With this money, not only would he be able to buy a decent house, but he would also be able to rent a bigger shop in the market and expand his business. This was a blessing in disguise. Before tonight, Yu-Ren was still in a bad mood, but now, happiness came so quickly that he couldn't even get used to it. 1 million? I have 1 million now? Yu-Ren held the bank. He couldn't stop laughing. However, before he could laugh twice, Yuan snatched it away. What are you doing? Yu-Ren jumped. Zhou Jiming asked for this money, we should give it to him. Yuan said as she passed the card to Gooden. Take this card. You took such a big risk for our family, it's only right that you take this money. I don't want it. Gooden scratched his head and smiled honestly. I don't need money. I live here, I have food and drinks, I don't need money. Yeah, Lil Zhou lives here, why does he need money? Yuan, why are you so stupid? You're giving him money, are you trying to chase him away? Yu-Ren glared at his daughter and snatched the bank. That's a lot of money, I'll keep it first. Yu-Ren was a greedy man, and he recovered from the shock in just a blink of an eye. How could he bear to give away that 1 million? But then again, if Yu-Ren wasn't greedy, why would he go to the arena and get scammed? Yuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry as she looked at her father's greedy face. I'm sorry, my dad's like that, it's fine, I really don't need money. Gooden had food and drinks, and his only goal was to find Lin Yi boss. Money was useless. You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.